Hi everyone, good morning. I hope all of you are keeping well and you have gone through the material. Okay, can anyone just post me with this information if the attitude material has also been uploaded or not? Yesterday I had requested to upload the attitude material. I believe it has been uploaded. Just give me this little piece of information. Good morning, all of you, all those who are wishing, who are just joining the session, who are present. So, Asma, are you saying that yes, it has been uploaded, the material associated with attitude? Mm, should I presume that you meant that? Okay, only additional reading material is there. Yes, so in the additional reading material, I had requested under that section to upload some of my material in which you had received ethics notes, in which you have received foundational values for civil services. Similarly, has the material related to attitude also been uploaded yesterday? This is my question. So, okay, not uploaded yet. All right, all right. So, let me just request it yet again. Because when I texted it yesterday, also it was early morning. Maybe that's why it was missed by the, we can say, the tech team. So, with respect to it, maybe I can make a, with respect to this, just a second. I'll just inform it to him and request that the material gets uploaded. All right, so I believe it will be addressed today. So don't worry. I have just made a request to upload it today, and it would be. Maybe yesterday when I wrote this, it was early morning. So what happens is if you're raising a request early morning, like the boys, they approve, oh yes ma'am, it will get done. But by the time it was day and other kinds of pressures must have surrounded them, so they might have missed that fact. But otherwise, everyone is too diligent when it comes to working, so you don't need to worry about that specific possibility, people. So yesterday we started with attitude. I explained what attitude is all about. In the process of explaining what is attitude, we discussed the difference between belief and attitude. Then we discussed about the CAB model when we were discussing about components of attitude. Under the CAB model, I further substantiated what is the cognitive component, what is the emotive component, or the affective component, and after affective component, what is the behavioral component. So cognitive associated with cognition, that means your belief systems, means it was associated with how you think about a specific topic. when we discuss about after the cognitive component, when we reflect about the affective component, it's about how you feel about something, how emotionally you think about something. And when we are talking about the behavioral aspect, it is associated with what is the past, what is your past experience, understanding, your sense of insight pertaining to a given topic. So these three clubbed together impact our attitudes. Attitudes impact our final behavior, final act, along with there can be some immediate impact of the given situation as well. This is something which I had discussed the possibility. And with respect to this, when we further like move ahead, we can reflect upon the relation between the CAB component. Okay, I appreciate, Ilma, that you tried reflecting upon the case study, and it was interesting doing that. Now, so with respect to the cognitive, affective, and behavioral components, as we reflect upon the correlationship between the three aspects, we all can reflect upon the segment of, we can say, the CAB pertaining to weak attitude and mixed attitude that we have. So I explained this yesterday all with all of you, when I took the example of a chocolate cake, and I said that how, we can experience a mixed emotion, whereby we can have a weak attitude, or we can have a weak attitude with respect to the negative aspect or the positive aspect. So it's like we can consider if there are more negative points associated with eating chocolate and less positive reasons to eat chocolate, all this will generate mixed emotions. And the mixed emotion will lead to the possibility of I responding accordingly. So if positive reasons are less, negative reasons are more, I will eat less chocolate cake, or maybe I'll avoid, I'll forego the situation. If I will see that there are more reasons to eat the chocolate, more positive reasons and less negative reasons to eat the chocolate, then the chocolate cake, then there is a fine chance that I'll eat a sizable portion of the chocolate cake, right? In the similar manner, I explained it with the help of bitter gourd. Like, let's say bitter gourd, it is associated with external locus of control, not internal locus. I'm not like really motivated to eat it, and there's no value also involved. It's only based on emotion. So I see that with respect to information or cognitive aspect, I get a lot of positive information that why I should eat bitter gourd. But with respect to the emotional aspect, or the, we can say, affective aspect, we all can see there can be a lot of negative emotion associated with it, because I don't like the taste, because I do not want to eat it. There can be other emotional reasons. Maybe every time I have eaten it, something bad has happened, or something like that. There are emotional reasons which are beyond logic. It's just that I don't like to eat it, from the taste to the look to the structure, something like that. Though I really like bitter gourd, no problems with that. But let us consider. So information is positive, emotions that are generated is negative. That is something which leads to confusion. That is something which leads to mixed emotion. So this confused mixed emotion is something which leads to weak attitude. Weak attitude means, if I'm not sick and there is no pressing reason, I will avoid eating bitter gourd, or even if I have to eat, I'll take a very small chunk whereby I'm just tasting it and letting it go. So that's something which all of us can connect with. Similarly, if let's say I'm sick and I don't like eating it, but I'm sick and I'm pressed, there is a pressing situation that I have to eat it. In that given condition, I can see that. I have to consume the bitter gourd, and that's how the thing goes on, it in terms of consumption, right? So when we are further moving ahead with respect to this, and we are further substantiating the sub segments associated with it, we can further reflect upon it from the third example. The third example was something which I had not explained. So here, with respect to it, I had explained it to all of you that it was generating mixed emotion. And after this, so it was generating mixed emotion. Here also we can see mixed emotion. So mixed emotion, and mixed emotions. So there are positives, there are negatives. So because of which we all can see that there is a confusion that what needs to be done. Okay, so we will be like seeing the possibility that over here also we can see there is a mixed emotion, because there are, we can say, positives associated with the cognitive aspect, negatives associated with the affective aspect, right? So in that situation we can again see that the overall outcome leads to weak emotions, or weak, we can consider in this case, weak attitude. Here also we are seeing that the positives are associated with affective, negatives were associated with cognitive. So mixed emotion and again weak attitude. So, in the components of weak attitude here, let us consider the positives associated with affective are more, and negatives associated with the cognitive aspect are less. So, what will happen? In that situation, I will have a more positive outlook towards eating the chocolate cake. And when there are lesser negative reasons, then I'll be like, okay, I'll exercise and burn the extra calorie, or I'll see to it that for other few days I'm avoiding sugar in any form. So, despite the weak attitude, the outcome will be this, that I have eaten it. Okay, when we are speaking of this given subsegment related to the, like we can say, the like bitter gourd, here also there is weak attitude. If I'm sick, then the cognitive positives will increase, and and the negatives of the affective will not be so powerful, right? So they'll be like less, and in that situation what will happen is that I will eat. But if, like, let's say I'm healthy, and in healthy conditions, the cognitive aspect means the thought related aspect, like let us consider, are like positive, but the negatives, or rather the affective aspect um, related to the negatives, if they are more, there's a fair chance that I'll skip or eat very less, right? So, when we are speaking of this possibility of weak attitude, this weak attitude impacts our conviction, our tendency to respond to a given situation. Now, as we are discussing about this given subsegment, so let me take this one up, the third example up. The third example, which is again associated with the possibility of ambivalent attitude. What is ambivalence? So, ambivalence in our attitude. How does it come? So, when there are a lot of positives and a lot of negatives, then in that situation ambivalence is caused. All right, how does this how can this be explained when we are speaking of this given dimension, right? So with respect to this, we all can see, or we all can reflect upon the given component. So do Sikh people like bitter gourd most? I have no clue about that, Rahul, whether Sikh people like bitter gourd or not. So if cognitive is positive, then how weak attitude happens? If cognitive is positive, but I mean, do you always take decisions only on the basis of logic and facts? Don't emotions matter? So the factual aspect of bitter gourd is like, it's very healthy, it's very good, but you don't like doing it. Like, you have a cognitive aspect, exercising is very good, right? Being disciplined is very good, studying properly is very good, but the emotion or affective aspect is, I feel lazy, it is tiresome to exercise, it is tiresome to study. So that is creating mixed emotion. So a child is having weak attitude towards studying diligently, or like sometimes a weak attitude towards exercising regularly, staying in a healthy body. That's how like you can connect with this given possibility, right? Again, so with respect to this, we have emotions. Our body acts like a neuron system. I mean, well, we do have emotions, but there are other aspects also which impact our existence. There is a combination of aspects which impact our wholesome attitude. Our past experiences related to the situation, our way of interacting or responding to that given situation. Our possibilities have also got determined with respect to how we process the information along with how we are emotionally responding to it. Kanakvali, the full form of CAB is be present in time and do not miss the lecture of previous day. That is the full form of CAB. You should have been present yesterday. Last half an hour was based on this cognitive, affective, and behavioral components. Why were you absent yesterday? I mean, I told you that the questions that you raise is nothing but a slipshod reflecting upon your commitments and attitude towards preparation anyway, and then you will be complaining, I cannot understand this ethics subject, it is so tough. Huh? This happens because of that only, because of this capability to not be regular, not revise properly, not like connect. And this is a new subject, so you have to be like diligent about it. No worries, Karthik, you'll catch up. All right, Kanakwali, so I hope you have received your answer. What is the full form of CAB? So I have discussed this like in such a like exhaustive pattern yesterday. I mean, like this was explained yesterday with this entire diagram, if you can recall. And after this entire diagram, we went ahead with explaining everyone singularly what is cognitive, what is affective, what is behavioral, right? This was the component associated with the behavioral aspect. So I mean, like that's something which is required anyway. So yes, last almost 45 minutes was devoted for this. What about the behavioral aspect of the cake and be like bitter good? The behavioral aspect is like in the past, if I've enjoyed the chocolate cake, that's why I'm tempted to have the chocolate cake. If in the past I have enjoyed, like, let us say, butterscotch cake or fresh fruit cake, I will be like chocolate cake, okay, I'll eat it, but I won't be like really titillated about it. So the past patterns, choices which I have made, that also influences my we can say attitude, the present attitude, how I would go ahead with it. Similarly, like bitter gourd, suppose my mother has prepared it very well in the past, so I'll be like, oh yeah, I can have bitter gourd. But suppose someone comes with a very, I would say, dangerous version of it, and I'm seeing it and I'm like, huh, okay, I have to eat this. Are you getting it? So in that situation, the behavioral aspect is not matching the present situation. So my affective aspect, means the emotional aspect, will the weak aspect or the like the negatives related to feeling will grow further, and the positives associated with facts that bitter gourd is healthy, that will not be able to surmount. And in that situation, I will go with the possibility of like eating less or skipping the like meal, or skipping the like eating of it. So that's what, right? Anyway, so does it mean emotion is generated by behavioral aspect? The behavioral aspect can impact the cognitive and affective as well. It's not like the three are dissociated, isn't it? The cognitive, affective, and behavioral, the three clubbed together impacts the attitude. So if my cognitive has been, like, let us say, positive, and like affect, we can say the affective aspect has also been positive, and the past has also been supportive, I will have a positive attitude towards a specific thing, person, or a situation, right? So that's how we are supposed to process that. Addition of new facts about something in our cognitive component can change our attitude. Yes, that is also possible. If there are new facts, new insights, suppose coming from a research, suppose coming from a latest case study, so that is also going to give us more reasons to do something, because of the factual data. So the factual aspect, if it grows strengthened, it will make our attitude more inclined to make a choice. All right. So now, with respect to, yeah, that's what I was discussing, Chandrahas, weak negative and weak positive. That's what you can see. The weak attitude, I have drawn it, means Chandrahas, you also joined just 2 3 minutes back, right? When I was explaining this chocolate cake and I was drawing this mixed emotion with respect to when I will eat more and when I will eat less, it was associated with the same thing. Over here also, when I was discussing about in sick situation and in healthy situation, how I'll be responding, it was associated with the same thing, weak positive and weak negative, right? When it is weak positive, the positives are weak, I will have a greater tendency to skip eating that thing, skip doing that thing. If there are more positives, okay, so we need to understand, if more positives are there, more positives, anything, okay, so with more positives and less negatives, I will have higher tendency to perform that thing, higher tendency to choose to the act, perform the act, right? And when I am speaking of more negatives and less positives, obviously, less positives is implicit. So, with more negatives, there is less chances of choosing to act or perform, of choosing to act or perform. So, more negatives, okay, and more positives. That's how you're supposed to understand this. All right. So, I hope that's getting clear, Chandrahas. So, um, what about behavioral aspect I've written? So, this is there. If we say behavior, we can include situation as well. Past, not situation. It's not the present situation, Nandini. After behavioral, situation is external to B. B is associated with past experiences. Okay. So don't mix the two. Cognitive notes of civil services values must need to read because it is very helpful. Affective, not reading and then feeling guilty about it. Mixed emotion, yes, leads to inconsistency or weak attitude. Very good, Bansi. Very well understood and very well explained. This given dimension, that cognitive, the notes are very good. Affective is I'm lazy to read it. And then you start and then the component of behavioral, in the past, if a student has not been very diligent about studying, so that is also going to impact the attitude. So overall, a weak attitude or an inconsistent attitude will be created, because of which the performance or the studies gets affected. So um, you can send it to the team, Rahul, that shall be taken care of it. Okay, so so this is there. Okay, now is it clear, Chandrahas, with respect to it, when I have written everything on the board? So now ambivalence I have yet not explained. Ambivalence I have yet not explained. All right. Now, so with respect to ambivalence, now ambivalence, what will have happen? A lot of positive and a lot of negative. You can see that, because so far what we were discussing when there is more negative or when there is more positive. So suddenly from this given subcomponent of more positive and more negative, we are moving to a lot of positive and a lot of negative. Means neither the positive points are less, nor the negative points are less. So far, either the positive was dominating or the negative aspect was dominating. Okay, so suddenly we'll realize that positives and negatives both, if both are ruling the roost, then what happens? So with respect to this, let me create this possibility that a boy and girl, like let's say this is Bunty and Bubbly. Okay, so like let's say Bubbly and this is Bunty. So Bunty and Bubbly, they meet in college. Okay, so as Bunty and Bubbly, they are meeting in the college, let us consider Bunty develops feelings for Bubbly. Okay, and after, yeah, the boy is Hage Maru, all right, fine, Kivika, but we'll not go by that given possibility. What is the difference between prejudice and behavioral aspect? Behavior is associated with past experiences, all right, and behavior is associated with past experiences, past like situations which have molded and shaped our attitude. Okay, so it is associated with past experience, whereas when we talk of prejudice, as I had discussed about it, that prejudice is related to our affective dimension, the cognitive, sorry, the affective dimension. Due to the affective aspect, the emotional aspect, how we develop a strong sense of like and dislike in terms of emotion towards something. Okay, so prejudice leads to that this possibility of like having exercising, like I gave you the example, sexism or any kind of racism or any kind of difference whereby we are not treating the other person equally. It is based on emotion, neither facts or logic, nor on the basis of some negative past experience, neither of it. Prejudice is based on the emotion that we possess towards something, a strong sense of like or dislike that we possess towards something. All right, so I hope you can connect with it. These are technical terms. With due practice you can create a understanding of it, Ashish, and it has been explained in the slide. The keywords have been given. All you need to do is write it, practice it, revise it multiple times. If after yesterday's lecture you are coming to the class right now and again without revision if you ask, then this is something that will happen, that you will get confused. What is stereotype, what is prejudice, what is discrimination? All these three words, they sound similar in day to day life. They imply similar or synonymous meanings in day to day life, but in the world of ethics we'll see, or even in the world of psychology we'll see, that they are distinct words having their own aspect. So stereotype will be associated with cognitive dimension, means the how we think about something, and how the thinking, when not supported with sufficient information or incorrect information, it can lead to a biased attitude that leads to stereotypical images. Similarly, if the emotions generated related to something is negative, and the emotions, the feelings are negative without any logic, rhyme or reason, then that will lead to prejudices. And discrimination is on the basis of past experience. The past experience, if it has been bitter, okay, the behavioral component, if it has been bitter, that leads to discrimination. But I wonder if I have to repeat it. I'm repeating because you are a fresher and I just can give a brief recall. But I wonder why revision is not taking place, why you are not devoting extra time for revision. So, yes, I know that in the notes it is well explained with examples. So, why do we have weak attitude? Weak attitude in both situations. I said you can have weak, or like you have mixed emotions, and you can have weak attitude whereby you can, exercise in either of the possibilities. You can go for consuming it or not consuming it. Okay, so that's also there. Pooja, the lecture started 30 minutes back, bacha. So probably after half an hour saying that has the lecture started is like a good morning wake up call. Now, with respect to this, um, I don't know, I mean, why Pooja, you considered that for half an hour, we'll wait for you. That when Pooja joins in, then only we'll start the session. So, and when she asks that, has the lecture not started yet? So, I mean, anyway, there can also be a technical glitch. That factor also cannot be overruled, that she is struggling to see me or hear me. Anyway, so with respect to this, we can now reflect upon this given chart associated with like Bunty and Bubbly, okay, or Hagemaru and whoever the girlfriend is. I don't know. So I'm not taking that name. Now, with respect to this, let us consider the possibilities of CAB. So CAB, cognitive, affective, behavioral. Now, let us say that this guy Bunty and Bubbly, suppose they have been friends for 1+ year in college. All right. So they have been friends for more than 1 year in the college. Okay. So when I am talking about the possibility of like positive and negative aspect pertaining to the both the dimensions, let us see what happens. So cognitive will be based on what? Cognitive will be based on facts of the situation. So let us say Munty realizes that Bubbly is like in terms of facts, so she has a very good height, she is quite pretty, okay, she is caring, okay, she supports him in academics, so she is also academically very good. So academics plus, okay. Now when the possibility is going ahead with this given dimension, we can further see that there can be some negative aspect also, negative aspect related to the facts of the case. So Bunty himself realizes that his own height is very less. So his own height, like let us say, is 5'3", and the girl is suppose 5'4" or 5'5", like that. Okay. So one thing, so you can see what is cognitive or the factual aspect, the factual going positive, the factual going negative. I hope you can connect with this and you can connect with the given dimension, right? Affective, emotion. Every time Bunty is with Bubbly, he is very happy around her. So what is generated? A lot of happiness. All right. Now, with respect to this, when we are talking about the negative aspect, okay, we can see that there is a constant fear of rejection, fear of rejection, fear of rejection. And there is also along with the fear of rejection, there is also a fear of the friendship going haywire if he proposes or something like that. Okay. So there is fear of rejection, fear of loss of friendship, right? Now then comes the behavioral aspect. So the behavioral aspect, so you can see positive, negative, and I hope you can understand. Like let's say in the behavioral aspect, like let's say means experience when we speak of it. So we can consider in the dimension of the positive or the negative. So the positive aspect is that the friendship has been rock solid for past 1+ year. So this is the experience. Okay. So this is the experience. This person has been able to see this given dimension. That the friendship has been rock solid for past 1+ year. There has been no fighting, no friction, nothing of that sort. And when we are talking about the negative aspect, so when it comes to negative experience, well, not with the girl, but like let's say, the girl has let's say we can consider that this fellow Bunty, when he was in school, he fell in love. Okay. So in school, when we consider, he had fallen in love, and due to which he was dragged to the police station. So he was beaten up, taken to police station, and other than being taken to police station, parents also slapped him, bet him, all that stuff happened. Okay. So that is his past experience related to the idea of love, and experience pertaining to having any kind of attraction. Okay. And like, let's say, with respect to Bubbly, her father is a police officer. Okay, is Bubbly's father is a police officer. So considering that, now Bunty is discouraged. He's like, God knows, in past the police has been very merciless, has beaten me up. Her father is also a police officer, and in the past he has said, like, let's say, in the past he has said that anyone who hits upon his daughter, who hits upon his daughter, you understand the expression? No, hitting upon means trying to establish a relationship, get into a relationship. So hits upon his daughter shall be killed. Shall be killed. He's told this to his daughter, that if anyone tries to propose you or get in a relationship with you, I will kill that person. Okay. So I mean, come on, we are not discussing Radhe Bhaiya, Hardeep. Okay. So, with respect to this, when we are talking about this, the component of experience. So, there is something related to negative, his own past experience falling in love, he has been beaten, and past related to Bubbly is also this, that she is belonging to a police officer, and he has also pledged that he will beat the guy black and blue if someone tries to get into a relationship. All right. So, when we are talking about these two given dimensions, okay, and when we are reflecting upon this, so there are a lot of positives, as I was discussing, a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. This wholesome scenario, a lot of positives and a lot of negatives, is going to create what? Ambivalence. Ambivalence. I hope all of you are understanding ambivalence now, and how ambivalence is different from, like, we can say, weak attitude. Because in weak attitude or neutral attitude, you have less number of reasons which are positive, which are negative. In ambivalence, there are a lot of reasons related to positive, a lot of reasons related to negative. So you have a lot of logic and a lot of emotion, like just undergoing the mixed baggage. And that is something which creates a lot of, yes, it is more like a greater level of dilemma. We can consider that. All right. So this is a greater dilemma than the coal mining mafia case. All right. So I hope all of you are able to connect with this CAB components and the relationship between them, how weak attitude is generated, okay, and how the weak attitude is generated even when there are more negatives, more positives, right? And along with that, I hope you can connect with what does the word ambivalence mean. Okay. So with respect to this, ma'am, this means that if you want to bring a change in the attitude of anyone, then that can be done by creating proper awareness, means providing proper facts. Yes, providing proper facts, changing the emotion, or we can say the perception towards that thing, working on the affective aspect also, so that positive emotions are generated. Okay. And then the behavioral aspect, the past experiences, altering that as well. Okay. I was about to give this example to all of you later. It is also included in the slide. But as you are asking this question, so yes, ambivalence is also a mixed emotion, but very high degree of mixed emotion pertaining to positive and negative. All right. So when we are discussing about bringing about a change related to this, so when we have to bring about a change in the possibilities of the society, whereby we have to bring an attitudinal change, attitudinal shift, because how to change attitude, especially related to social reforms, related to social experiences, social behavior, the three components are hit by the administration. Like, let us say in Haryana and Jind, I will be discussing that example again later. So, like in Haryana, Jind, what was seen that the sex ratio of the girl child was getting massively disturbed. So the administration paid attention to the three segments: cognitive, affective, and behavioral. So, cognitive facts, so there is dowry involved when the girl is born. There are a lot of expenses involved with respect to her raising, and later the girl is not even able to contribute to the family income. So, there was a lot of strain pertaining to economy. Cognitive, that was the factual reason, and also security of women, that also threatened the parents. So, cognitive aspect, factual aspect. Then there was emotional aspect associated with having a girl child. The emotional aspect is that she won't be staying with us. We will get emotional, but she won't be able to be with us. Also, if she is molested or any misbehavior happens to her, that will also cause a lot of disgrace, shame, that will cause a lot of pain to us emotionally. We will feel very hurt. So all those segments related to the affective aspect. And behavioral aspect, the past related aspect was what? So the past related aspect was this, that every time a girl child was born in the society, so there was people were sad, they were lamenting. But if a male child was born, the family threw a little feast, or some kind of party for the society. So when there was a small feast, the neighbors, the relatives being invited for having a meal or eating sweets, so that was a joyous situation, that was a positive reaction. So people's experiences or the behavioral component was positive towards having a male child. And when there was a female child born, there was no celebration per se. So the administration worked on the three aspects to bring about attitudinal change, to bring about social change. And that is how this chapter gets connected to any kind of social reform, social change that you want to bring about in the society, pertaining to administration, pertaining to any of the given components, right? So related to, we can consider this given possibility, we all can reflect upon what the administration did in Jind, Haryana. So what they did, they first of worked on the behavioral component. So they announced that every time a girl child is born, the panchayat shall throw a little feast, whereby the neighbors and the relatives will be treated. They will be treated with sweets or whatever. Okay. So every time the neighbors and relatives were treated for the birth of the girl child by the administration, by the panchayat, so it generated a positive, we can say, experience, positive experience, altering the past experience. A positive experience was continually created at the birth of girl child. That's it. Thus the government is ready to support. Again, under Ladli Yojana and all those different kind of schemes pertaining to girl child, some kind of financial kitty was created, that some amount will be deposited annually, and by the time the girl is 18 years of age, the amount will mature, which can be invested for her marriage, or it can be invested for her higher education. So both those possibilities will be created. Then with respect to, so this was related to cognitive, the facts were being corrected, the experiences were being corrected. With respect to emotion, a lot of positive campaigns, slogans were raised, that how a girl child can also bring pride to the family. So female sports persons, officers who were successful, their names were taken, their role was being discussed, and also security was generated for the girls in the society, so that molestation, rape, abuse is put under check. The people, the members of the society were made alert or aware how the behavior of the boys ought to be regulated, how the demeanor needs to be put to check. Because of these, we can say, aspects which the administration carried forward in the cognitive, affective, and behavioral component, especially behavioral component, people are unable to understand that how to alter the experience which was going on, how to alter that experience. So Jean did it. It started celebrating the birth of the girl child, so that the experience gets altered, the established experience related to the birth of a girl child gets altered. It is competent or similar to that of a male child, or any child for that matter. So because of that, what happened was that gene started improving its sex ratio, and the sex ratio of gene, not only improved, it caught up, and it became better than many districts of Haryana. Got it? So I hope you are able to understand this given dimension. All right. So as we are completing this CAB component, we move to the structure of attitude. The structure of attitude is something which you all can connect with um, this given subsegment. So we have already discussed the CAB model. The structure is associated with the CAB model. Okay. Please remember that CAB model is the most important, not the most, one of the most important areas of this chapter of attitude, and directly and indirectly a lot of questions are associated with the CAB model. If you are having a clarity in understanding of it, your capability to interpret a question and engage with the question will be sharper. All right. So please get into understanding this given dimension. All right. So like for example, if I'm talking about blood donation, so there are a lot of people who do blood donation, right? And blood donation, so those who think cognitive aspect, that it is very good for the society. There are sometimes like severe situations whereby there is a dearth or lack of availability of blood, right? It is also good for health because the body tries to replenish it, revive that amount of blood. So it is also very good for our health. So good for society, good for health. That's the basic information we have. Then comes the, after the cognitive, the emotional aspect. So suppose the emotional aspect is negative, whereby every time a person is seeing a needle or seeing blood, the person faints. Okay. So there is fear of needle. Also there is some past experience. The past experience, like when we are talking about behavioral aspect, so the past experience is that the, like let's say the nurse, she was not a trained one, so she jabbed the needle in the person's arm, so the person had some excruciating pain. So in that situation we can see that all these factors are going to determine the attitude of the person, because cognitive aspect is strong, affective aspect is negative. Okay. So cognitive is positive, affective is negative, and then behavioral aspect or the past experience is also negative. So in that situation, there'll be mixed emotion. Okay. And the mixed emotion is something that if mixed emotion is higher, the person will not donate. And if the positive emotions are higher, the person will donate, despite the mixed emotion or the negative emotion being there. So in mixed emotion also, you come up with some kind of solution, you do act, but in your acting, there is lack of conviction. Okay. All right. So as we are giving this given dimensions, you must have heard the term thinkers and feelers. So thinkers are those who take their decisions on the basis of cognitive aspect or facts, logic, reason. Feelers are those people who take their decisions on the basis of emotions. Okay. So thinkers and feelers are the ones who are shaping our society. All right. And on the we can say topic of feelers, we all got like two questions related to like the topic asked in the essay in the mains exam in 2022, if all of you can recall that. So in 2022 mains, if you are able to recall that given subsegment, there was this a dimension of poets being the unacknowledged legislators. That was something associated with the essay topic. So if you want, probably I can just share the given question that was there. So the question was related to this, that poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world. So poets, they are unacknowledged. Why? Because they are not thinkers and they are not the profound people taking profound decisions and leading the world in terms of getting to power, because they are not calculative people, so they are not climbing up to power. So this very statement that poets are unacknowledged legislators of the world, because they are also providing leadership, but as feelers, but as people who are working on the emotional aspect, the affective aspect, by generating patriotism, sacrifice, selfless love, all those emotions. Okay. So that is also needed for the growth and development of a country, for the freedom of the country from all kinds of exploitation. Similarly, when I'm talking about this idea of feelers, there was yet another question asked in 2022 mains pertaining to essay, that history is a series of victories won by a scientific man over the romantic man. So the romantic man is the feeler who is feeling and then on that basis taking the decisions for the society, and scientific man is the man who's guided by cognitive component. All right. So when you are very thorough with attitude, you know how to bring the wisdom of this chapter even in other aspects of preparation like essay. All right. So yes, feelers are those people who can take decisions on the basis of their emotion, okay, their affective aspect, sakib. Okay, the way we call thinkers, in the similar manner there are feelers. Like we can say the leaders of bhakti movement, the leaders of Sufi movement, they are feelers. And are they not shaping the society? Yes, they are shaping the society with their emotions, with their, like we can say, perceptions, their ideas, their poetry, their creation of literature. All right, Sakib, I hope you are understanding that. What is the probability of action? Probability of action is ambiguous. The person is in a high stage of confusion. All right. Can you please repeat the history quote again? See the 2022 question paper, Mona Lisa. Okay. It is 2022 essay question. I was just saying that question so that you understand how to connect it with the attitude chapter. All right. Fine. So, all right. So, attitude notes has been posted, it seems, and it has been shared. You can see that like the SME has posted the link. So anyone interested to download it, you can download the attitude notes which I have shared. You will be able to understand it in an easier way, in a more, I would say, comprehensive manner. And then when you read, we can say, the Byju's book, you will be able to connect with it better. LPG reforms was in cognitive attitude of government only, or was it a result of ABC model? LPG reforms was associated with the cognitive aspect, hardcore cognitive, because we were surrounded from all corners. We were running short of the, money. So there was foreign deficit, like deficit in foreign funds, fiscal deficit. We were in heavy loans. We needed to open the market to get immediate supply of currency. So you can just get into that. So you're not able to go through the link. I cannot help with it, Abhimanyu. That's something which is a technical things. So teachers, this note will be there on dashboard. Okay, what is that? Okay, so in MP government is running Ladli Yojana scheme in which 1,000 rupees is transferred to women's account. Is it empowering to change an attitude towards them or just freebie? It will change like the attitude. I'll tell you this, Hardeep. In 2005-6 itself, when gender budgeting was introduced for the first time, at that time it was said that let us create satellite accounts for women, whereby it is easy to monitor. Satellite literally does not mean satellite. In bank accounts, let us create accounts even in the remote areas, whereby we can monitor those accounts, and we deposit like around 1,000 to 1,500 rupees to women associated with we can say poorer sections of the society or even lower middle class, so that when they are receiving some amount in their account, the work gets acknowledged, and it will generate a positive emotion in the society that what woman is working is not unacknowledged or it is not unpaid. Even her work is recognized by the society, by the government. Getting it? So I mean, that is something which is getting articulated nowadays when people are talking about giving some basic amount in the women's account, especially those who are working at home. They are not working outside. So transferring a symbolic amount in their account is just acknowledging their work and empowering them. Those who don't understand, like, if someone has a weak understanding of theory, suppose if someone doesn't know that this kind of idea actually emanated from National Policy for Empowerment of Women 2001, which also inspired gender budgeting 2005-6. And when this idea was discussed for the first time, and the actual implementation of it, or now articulation of it, has started bit by bit by few state governments, or such initiatives have been taken up. With that 1,000 or 1,500 rupee, a woman has that independence, that she can purchase some kind of good food and eat, some nutritious food and eat. She can spend that money on some meaningful necessity that she wants to have. She's not going to purchase, like I would say, expensive saris or expensive shoes with that minuscule amount. That is something which is just a symbolic token amount, right? So Hardeep, I hope you are getting it. So similarly, in Karnataka, the government is running pink buses. Okay, can a civil servant act on the basis of affective aspect and with less attention to the cognitive or behavioral aspect? When we are speaking of it, we can see there is a mix while taking the decision. It is never in isolation. All right. Now, with respect to this, I think Pooja is experiencing some technical glitch. Can the SME support her in any way? Now, with respect to this given segment, when we are talking about the structure, okay, so please understand, before I indulge in the structure, the components of CAB model have to be like synergistic in nature. There is a synergized relationship between the CAB model, okay, when we are speaking of all this. So, probably I can just mention it over here that the components, therefore, the components of CAB model have a synergized relationship when an individual possesses positive beliefs about an object, thing, person, or situation. Person or situation, uh, then typically, then typically, uh, he will have positive affective and behavioral associations with the object slash thing slash person slash situation. All right. So you need to understand that the components are synergized with each other. As they are synergized, so is the attitude that gets affected. All right. So with respect to this, all those students, like in the break, you can reflect upon finding out the material associated with attitude. It has been like uploaded, you can check it later. Now focus, presently just focus on what is being discussed. So like let us consider, if I'm discussing about the structure. So with respect to the structure, so let us consider, when I'm talking about negative evaluations, negative evaluations related to a person, thing, situation. Okay. So negative evaluations, and like let's say positive evaluations. So if I'm discussing about negative evaluations and positive evaluations pertaining to it, how a person can get into the dimension of, like, let's say, the possibility of neutral or ambivalent attitude. So, like, let us consider somewhat, like, maybe I should draw it somewhat like this. Wait, I just stretched it up. I think it's almost fine. Okay. So, like, let us consider somewhat over here. This is 5, 5. So, in this situation, we can connect it with neutral attitude, neutral, when there are 5 negatives and 5 positives in your brain related to a thing, a situation, a person, that's associated with neutral attitude. But let us consider, so if it is associated with 10 positives and 10 negatives that you know about something, that is going to create ambivalent attitude. Ambivalent attitude. I hope you are understanding the difference when we are talking about it. So, this is the component of, like, let's say, attitude, how you are going to experience, how you are going to behave. All right. So, in this given subsegment, when we are talking about it, 5 and 5 is something which is going to create neutral attitude. 10 and 10 are going to create ambivalent attitude when we are speaking of negative. Now, let us take something more pertaining to it. When we are talking about, like, let us say, there are, suppose, 3 positives, but, like, let us consider there are 7 negatives. So, in this situation, if we are talking about something like that, so in this given situation, we can see that there will be a strong negative attitude. This is what is associated with, we can consider, like, a strong negative attitude. Strong negative attitude. So anything like, let us say, 8 2, like 10 3, 10 4, okay, whatever, 3 4, like 9, like maybe 9, 4 9 3 9 2, anything. Okay. So this is associated with strong negative attitude. A strong negative attitude, whereby there are more negatives. Okay, Chandrahas, yesterday when I explained this and today you asked the question, I hope you can connect with this, okay, because you were struggling with it. So you have a strong negative attitude because the negative points, if you reflect upon it, negatives are more, positives are less. So, strong negative attitude is what you develop in such a situation. Weak negative attitude can also get developed when we are talking about this. Okay. So, weak negative. What is weak negative? Weak negative is, like, let us consider, like, let us say there are 7 pluses, so there are 5 like 5 positives, 7 negatives. or like let's say 10 negatives, so there are like, let us consider 8 positives, like that. So you can think of it associated with weak negatives. All right. I hope all of you are able to focus on this. As I explain, focus on what I am explaining. Don't jump the gun here and there. Similarly, we can connect it with the possibility of, we can consider weak positive and weak negative. So weak positives, and we can consider weak, sorry, weak positives is there, strong positive I had to write, weak positives and strong positive attitude, strong positive attitude. Okay, so when does this weak positive and strong positive attitude occur? So like let's say weak positive attitude will be whereby we can say, like let's say 4 points of um, like let's say 3 or 4 or 6, with anything it can be created. Like let me just try to create. Okay, so suppose there is a possibility of like 7 positives. Okay, 7 positives and 4 negatives. So 7 positive, 4 negative will create a weak attitude. All right, I hope you can connect with this. And when will be a strong positive attitude be there? So like let us consider there are 2 points or 1 point that is negative, and like let's say there are 6 or 8 points that are positive. Okay, so like let's say 8 positives, 1 negative. In that situation you have a strong positive attitude. Okay, I hope that's getting clear to all of you. Fine. So strong negative point are written wrong. Strong negative. Why strong negative is written wrong? Like Manmohan, either you explain it why, or you will uh, have to accept what I'm saying, that please represent only positive and only negative in graph. Why? Why should I only show only positive and only negative? You can see positive is here in this given segment. When positives increase, I mean, like, I believe you have studied graph. I was introduced to graph in standard 6 when for the first time I saw the green graph sheet. And I mean, students preparing for civil services like exam, students going to prepare for CSAT, if they struggle with graph, and that to this basic level of graph, it is like surprising. What is needed is a bit of practice. With a due level of practice you will develop a strong sense of understanding. So just do some mental practice, you will be able to understand. How will neutral attitude affect you? You will not be like we can say like motivated to do something. So we can consider, like let's say the possibility associated with let's say uh, yeah, for example I can give you Anna Hazare movement. So before Anna Hazare movement, people had a neutral attitude towards corruption. Towards corruption. Why? So we can say people had less awareness less awareness and less information. So with less awareness and less information, we can understand that this situation can happen. After this movement, what happens? So after this movement, we see that the attitude grew from neutral to ambivalent. Why it grew from neutral to ambivalent? Because the individual has a lot of information about negatives, but also sees it as an inevitable necessity, that for getting the work done, skipping the line, getting the, like, surpassing the crowd, sometimes you need, you'll see that people sometimes they need some extra favor. In those situations, they want corruption to exist, they want corruption to happen. Okay, so see it as an inevitable or unavoidable necessity. Sorry, necessity, I'm saying, I'm writing necessary. So see it as an inevitable necessity. So finally, there is a state, a troubled state, I should say. Finally, there is a troubled state and a state of unrest. A state of unrest. A state of unrest because you have a lot of positives also, a lot of negatives also. So this unrest is something which is associated with confusion. This unrest is something which is associated with ambiguity. Right? So when you have limited knowledge, it is neutral. Limited knowledge and there is a confusion, like how to go about with things, that will be neutral. If you have a lot of information and yet the confusion persists, that is ambivalent. All right, so I hope you can connect with it. Yes, and then there will be a state of cognitive dissonance beyond that. Whenever you get a question related to structure of attitude, please draw this diagram in the exam. It will give you very good marks. Draw this diagram and then explain the keywords. That is something which is going to help you to get, like, fetch, we can say, uh, the issue. Well, Shanavaz, what you are saying now, I cannot address personal crises that you experience with respect to preparation. But when you're saying that you feel sleepy quite often and that impacts your preparation overall, preparation, in that situation, Shanavaz, what I can do is, I can suggest that you can improve your sleep cycle, eat less greasy food, especially at, like we can say, at night or in the afternoon. You can change the calorie intake that you are consuming, eat more, we can say, fluid based things or lighter things, because earthy elements means like wheat and rice, and any kind of food which is too heavy, that will cause drowsiness. Another thing which I can suggest is, which one of my friends did, like, with respect to the preparation mode, because that fellow was like, I need 9 hours of sleep, I cannot satisfy like you with 4 or 5 hours of sleep and going on and on preparing and revising. I need my 9 hours. So for that, 7 hours of non-stop sleep at night, and afternoon 2 hours of sleep, and that is how he used to complete his sleep cycle. And rest of the time he used to hustle more, because he knew that he has less number of hours to prepare, because other competitors are sleeping less and are fighting harder. That Those are the solutions. Know your body and come up with solutions for it. If it needs more sleep, sleep more, no problem. But in the rest of the time, study harder, be more focused, be more, like, diligent. That's how you can do. And if after sleeping so much also you are not feeling so fresh, then the problem is associated with food and lack of exercise. So get into regular exercising. Those people who start exercising within a month, they say that not only they are more fresh, in a more fit body, if they are not exercising they feel sleepy and lazy. Okay, so exercise, it regulates your entire metabolism, not just stretching up muscles, it's more than that. Okay, so do that, try that. So, congratulations, Mansi. Welcome. We have discussed ambivalent quite a number of times, and it had actually started earlier itself when I was discussing about it through this. So, welcome and good morning. Please join the session early when I'm discussing about it, about concepts. What is ambivalent? Join the session out of the blue in last 10-15 minutes, and then suddenly you'll ask what is ambivalent. I probably can't help, because something which has been explained for 1 hour cannot be zeroed down in 5 minutes. Maybe only SME can give you the synonymous word meaning of ambivalence. SME, please support her with the synonymous word meaning. With respect to attitude, I can only help when you are present and alert. Okay, the entire class is not going to experience the whirlwind of information once again just because one student was not in time. All right, Mansi. So let us respect being diligent and on time. There will be an important role of NGO, pressure groups, bureaucracy in changing attitude and hence changing societal evils. Yes, yes, yes. Mrityunjay. And that's how they will be working on the cognitive, affective, and behavioral model. And they will be reflecting upon the positive possibility of where there is strong negative emotion, where there is weak negative emotion, or where there is strong, like we can say, a weak positive attitude, or there is strong, like a positive attitude, and what kind of intervention is needed. So all of you can see this, all of you can connect with this given dimension. So I have so far given strong positive attitude, right? I have discussed weak positive attitude, and you can now connect it with the chart, right? A weak positive attitude. I have discussed with all of you like strong negative attitude, strong negative attitude. I have discussed weak negative attitude, and in between is true neutral attitude and ambivalent attitude. Ambivalent attitude. So you can see this, the entire flow, right? Okay, no problem. Like you can always, Ilma, catch up with the batch. There will be weekend batch in August. That will be starting from 12th of August, and it will continue till September, 2nd or 3rd of September. Just before means I'll be wrapping up these segments. If there are 5 positives and negatives each, and if we increase to 10, so how does neutrality turn into ambivalence? Because 10-10 is ambivalent, 5-5 is neutral. That's how, Anusha. If you have 10 negative information and 10 positive reasons for it to exist, so that is creating ambivalence. Whether you should let that possibility exist in the society or not exist, is it an unavoidable necessity or is it a confusion and pain for the society? That's how it happens, Anusha, right? For example, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So before the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan started, our attitude towards sanitation was neutral. We were like, okay, yes, toilets are needed, but they are not constructed. And yes, open defecation should be done away with. So we had a neutral attitude towards sanitation. But when the campaign started, like I'm giving this as a different example, mind it, okay? It can be connected with strong negative also, weak negative also. It can be connected to weak positive also, strong positive also. It's all about the way the facts are presented. The facts of the case can let the same example fit in different categories. Remember that. So like let us say, if I have to give the same example with ambivalent attitude, what will happen that after Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and mission, the government will raise a momentum related to sanitation, awareness about importance of sanitation, interventions associated with like sanitation. So all those will be positive efforts. But negative, what will happen, we'll realize that in slum clusters the houses are not big enough to construct a private toilet. There is lack of access to piped water in many households. So in the lack of access of piped water, maintaining a clean toilet will become tough. It will become like strenuous. People are not having enough to eat or enough to send their child to school or have qualitative access to health care in such, or have access to monthly sanitary pads. In such a situation, expecting that they will keep the toilets clean by pouring acid and cleaning it regularly is too big an aspiration when we speak of it. So we all can see that the attitude towards sanitation will become ambivalent, okay, in such a situation, because you have a lot of positives, along with that you have now a lot of negatives. From neutral attitude towards sanitation, it moves to ambivalent attitude towards sanitation. All right, Anusha, is it making sense? Right. So, yes, artificial intelligence, you don't know enough about it, you are having a neutral attitude. You know some positive, some negative. The moment you are flooded with information related to positive, and simultaneously and we can say a row of criticism associated with artificial intelligence. So, from neutral attitude towards artificial intelligence, it converts to ambivalent attitude towards like artificial intelligence. All right. So, Hariom, that is associated with the the management and the schedule planning. Right now, I have committed till this month of 2nd of September for like ethics and essay for the evening batch. This is what presently what commitments have been made. Only that I can speak, right? Okay. How can ambivalent situation change to strong positive and strong negative? It can change to strong positive and strong negative. Like let's say in a given area which is water deficient, like let's say some area of Maharashtra where it is water deficit, the farmers are not getting enough water to cultivate the crop. In such a situation, having like enough water for flushing the toilets can become challenging. So there can be like a possibility that in the paucity of or lack of sufficient availability of water, okay, from ambivalent attitude it will move to strong negative attitude, that there is no need of toilet. Probably the government can give that funds for seeds, for better access to water, for setting up pumping sets, all that stuff. So people will not in that situation appreciate a move where toilets are constructed when there is not enough water to maintain the toilet. So it will move from ambivalent to strong negative in that area. Similarly, when you are talking about having a strong positive attitude, so let us consider if a massive campaign is launched related to sanitation, and the ambivalent attitude can convert into a strong positive attitude, like let's say certain NGOs or certain let us say community based organizations or certain charitable institutions or certain individuals who have philanthropic attitude, or they have been earlier the owner of princely state, or they have been like in a well off position, when they declare that we are going to take the responsibility of 100 villages or 50 villages, whereby there are not only toilets that are constructed by the government, there is a continual supply of water, and the maintenance aspect is also not only encouraged by the campaign, but the momentum related to availability of the basic segments to maintain the toilet will also be created by us. So that is going to change the attitude from ambivalent to strong positive, because now resources are available, support system is available, there is local team to look into these basic concerns or challenges. All right. So I hope all of you can understand this. Okay. How are we going to use the CAB model in the exam? The CAB model can be used in different ways. If components of attitude is asked, there also you can use it. If structure of attitude is asked, this is how you are going to use it. Okay. So the CAB model will be primarily associated with components of or we can say content. What is the content of attitude? What are the segments of attitude? What does attitude comprise of? In that situation, you can discuss the CAB model. All right, Pawan Singh, the question you were asking. Can positive and negative coexist with each other within each component of CAB? Zeba, I think it is coexisting with each other, whether it is strong negative, weak negative, ambivalent, neutral, strong positive, weak positive, all of it is coexistence of positive and negative, but in different degrees. I hope you can see that. Orthodox belief has been continuing. It is not ambivalent attitude, but still continuing because only of due to lack of information. Yeah, it is due to lack of information and lack of sufficient development of rationality. When the rationale doesn't develop, then only the possibility of rationale or reasoning does not develop, then only practice can continue. Like deep fakes, dark pattern are example of strong negative, while digitalization is an example of strong positive. Yes, yes, yes. That's how you can connect. All right. So I think all of you are getting some basic. Ma'am, if one issue fits in different situations, the conclusion will differ from person to person. Yes, the same issue, if fitting differently in different regions, then it will qualify in different areas differently. Like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan may fit in a different category in Sikkim compared to Bihar, compared to maybe some area of Tamil Nadu, maybe some area of Gujarat, right? Similarly, tribal upliftment will have a different impact, like let us say the issue of tribal development with respect to the attitude. We can see it will be different in Odisha compared to Jharkhand, and different from Jharkhand compared to Gujarat. So, like that's what. So the reality of the same issue, same topic can differ with respect to the society we are talking about, the context we are talking about. Okay, yes, like Indore was once quite polluted a city, and today it is one of the most cleanest cities in India. Yes, we can say that as well. No, it is not associated with, why is it coming as copy? Okay. So when we are speaking of this given dimension associated with no, it is not ambivalent attitude, Soumya. It is a strong positive attitude. Ambivalent is when you also have a lot of negative reasons to not believe in the thing. So you don't have negative reasons towards Indore. So why will there be an ambivalent attitude? It has to be strong positive attitude. Strong positive attitude towards sanitation, towards Swachhata. So earlier there was weak positive attitude. Okay, so people were aware of importance of sanitation, but there were not enough resources and not enough efforts made towards sanitation. But today there is a strong positive attitude because there is awareness and effort made towards it. Or maybe earlier it was a neutral possibility, today it is a strong positive possibility. Got it? Okay. Ma'am, if the interview there is a question on neutral position, then what will be our answer? So, well, I have spoken of neutral bureaucracy. That was a different segment compared to committed bureaucracy, remember? So, you have to see where the neutral word is getting associated with, because it's not just neutral, it is also the reference with which the word is getting attached. And that is something which is going to determine the meaning of the neutral in that context. Neutral is not a general term, the way you have heard of it before attending these sessions. Okay, neutral has a specific meaning associated with the context in which it is spoken. All right, Rahul? And that's why having a profound understanding of technical jargons and revising it, putting it to good use, speaking like an officer, writing and thinking like an officer is necessary. All right? Now, so ma'am, in Tamil Nadu also giving 1,000 rupees to women in consideration, but it will increase the government spending and men will exercise muscle power to take the money to lead, it leads to domestic violence. No, not really Kirubagar. We can see that women are the ones who are running the household. And a lot of women are also bit by bit getting empowered, and especially with respect to Tamil Nadu, if I speak, women are far more assertive compared to many women across India. I really appreciate this because if you read even case studies of Jean Drèze, Professor Jean Drèze, and like Amartya Sen, especially Professor Jean Drèze, in his book Sense and Solidarity, he discusses this, that the political role of women is more assertive in a state of Tamil Nadu, because of which schemes and policies pertaining to women and children are better implemented compared to other parts of northern India. And the reason is that women are having their own independent political say. In northern India, a lot of women, they follow what their husbands are doing or what their fathers are doing in terms of political voting, though the trend is changing even in northern India, as it was seen in the UP election. Despite so much of COVID crisis, death during COVID, mismanagement of COVID cases, like dead bodies washed off in the banks of Ganga, and like the satellite image showing such deadly and devastating image of, like, I would say hundreds of dead bodies like swept off the banks and lying like that. So that was a very disturbing image, and still the political party could get back to power because women voted BJP to power, because women did not want Samajwadi Party. And the we can say conflict between Samajwadi Party and BJP was very close. I mean, had the women supported Samajwadi Party, it would have risen to power, it would have come to power. The biggest reason for BJP coming to power was women were tired of crime rate going high in the state when Samajwadi Party was in power, when local goons would, like, just create a havoc on the population, especially young girls while going to college or going for work. So any girl could be abducted, only any girl could be abused just by having a Samajwadi Party flag on the vehicle and having two, three like goons with you. A person could commit any kind of crime in broad daylight. And as it used to get dark, women were scared to even venture out. Okay, so those experiences, harrowing experiences, were fresh in the minds of the women. That's why even though their husbands were voting for Samajwadi Party, the women voted for BJP. And that was a very interesting observation by social scientists and political scientists, which hyphenated the possibility that how there is a change in the attitude of women in terms of political participation. Okay, so political participation, the way women participated earlier versus they are participating today. Jean Drèze, when he reflected upon this, it is almost a decade old reflection, and even prior to that. So you can see that in Tamil Nadu, Jay Lalita getting to power, we can see it, when the political parties they get into canvassing for the candidate Kirubagar, if you can recall the entire pattern, you can see that the leaders specifically target the women separately other than men. So women can get this mixer grinders, they can get little television sets, they can get cookers. Okay, because they know that women are separate voting lobby. And women, unlike men, they cannot be charmed with hooch or like some chicken biryani or some money. Women can be charmed only when we do something immediately about their family. So maybe I can give her a sari, but other than sari, what she wants is to see the well-being of her husband, her parents-in-law, her child. So they are her priorities. So that's why the kind of gifts that are given to men compared to women can also be observed. It also depicts the personality traits that they carry. Anyway, so with respect to this, Kiru Bagar saying that women are not so empowered and the husband will cause domestic violence to snatch that money, it's not so simple, it's not so easy. Women are growing quite assertive across India. And when you are picking the example of Tamil Nadu and quoting the example from Tamil Nadu, women have relatively been quite assertive in their rights, which is experienced even in the political behavior they have exercised during the Lok Sabha election and the Vidhan Sabha election. All right. So there is like not a simplistic way of understanding the society. There are so many finer layers. That's why arriving at generalizations can sometimes be tedious when we are speaking of it. Okay, so all right, whatever senior men citizens done to our image. Okay, Kivika. All right, so now moving ahead, yesterday there was a news. This well, I have no idea about it, Vikram, nor it is required to discuss, as we are discussing about the segments pertaining to ethics chapter, right? So different reveries used to, yes, 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 there is freebie culture, undoubtedly. Freebie culture, there are two aspects to it: the theoretical aspect as well as the applied aspect. The applied aspect is when freebies are given for prolonged period of time, that creates dependence, and when it creates dependence, psychological dependence, it's not truly creating social empowerment in the long run. First, so this is the applied aspect. Another applied aspect is that freebies has to be given to, like, let's say, destitutes, orphans, disabled population, widowed women, old age people, because they cannot recover from their miseries immediately. So you have to support them with some kind of free or subsidized goods and services for a longer time period. Longer support system has to be created when we speak of freebie. Okay, but when we are talking about the relatively empowered population, which with certain level of skills and employment can become a part of the mainstream, can create a difference for itself, we can understand that if it is not empowered sufficiently, it is not really going to bring about a difference in the long run per se. All right. So, all right, now please, SME, help me with the questions, because I understand students are getting connected to the chapter, and when they are getting connected to the chapter, there will be a lot of array of questions. So I hope you are also listening to the lecture simultaneously. So in consonance with what has been explained in the class, previous session and this session, please handle their queries and give them the correct answers to their, like, minor queries, because they are like simple queries, but that is eating up the core of my lecture, almost half an hour, and I'm just going on with basic explanations. So that can be like, if you support me with this, I'll further move ahead. So with this given subsegment, we can look into the functions of attitude as discussed by Daniel Cards. Daniel Cards, he discussed that the functions of attitude can be discussed from four perspectives: knowledge function, utility function, when we are speaking about it, and it can be associated with ego defensive function and value expression function. Now let us understand these four, which is associated with functions of attitude. So we have understood components of attitude or content of attitude, structure of attitude, now functions of attitude. So in terms of functions of attitude, we can understand first and foremost the knowledge function, because attitude, it provides us knowledge about our immediate surroundings, what's around us, and how safe is it to be there. Like, for example, when we are talking about attitude, we know the attitude of snake and we know the attitude of a cow. So if we are passing by one of them in a park, we will have a different attitude towards it. Suppose we are taking a walk in the park and we are like quickly taking like quick strides, and suddenly 2 feet away we see a snake, a big rattlesnake. I mean, we will run like at the fastest speed that we have, seeing the rattlesnake or seeing cobra or something like that. Why? Because we know the attitude of the animal, that if it gets angry or aggressive, it can cost our life. But if there is a huge cow, okay, sitting and chewing the cud in the park, just 1 feet away, not even 2 feet, 1 feet away, and we are taking a walk, we will be chill, because we know that a cow does not randomly get up and start hitting. Okay, so we will pass by peacefully because knowledge function. We know the attitude of the animals, so it serves the purpose of knowledge function. So I can just simplify it. You know the examples, you can see. So we can understand, based on the attitude of the people, situations, organisms around us, we can predict we can predict their behavior, their potential behavior, or tentative future, or the tentative future, tentative future, right? So attitude, helps us attitude helps us to understand the overwhelming otherwise overwhelming amount of information in the world. Means all the time we don't have to remember the information. Our attitude helps us to create shortcuts. Okay, so they are shortcuts. Attitudes are shortcuts. I remember how snakes behave, I remember how cows behave. Okay, shortcuts helping us to simplify our perceptions of the world, so that it becomes more predictable. Manageable, and safer. All right, so this is something which you can connect with the knowledge function, okay, of attitude. Now, with respect to this, as we understand utility function means the attitude, it also helps us to understand the utility of things or situations around us. So it also plays a vital utility function. For example, irrespective of which political party you belong to, you have a positive attitude towards khadi, isn't it? So irrespective of the political party a politician belongs to, a politician belongs to, the person has a positive attitude towards khadi, right? Towards khadi. All right. So the person has a, like the component associated with this given subdimension. So with respect to this, when we are talking about it, Soumya, isn't that an individual situation, that once you are feeding a cow and suddenly it got aggressive? Okay. So when we are talking about this, this is an individual cow. On an average, hundreds of cows are lying around on the street and people keep driving their bikes. They don't get startled that I'll be driving and suddenly what if it hits? It can happen as a rare situation that it hits. Okay, but when we are talking about general attitude, let us stick to the theory of general attitude. Out of hundreds of cow, one of them hit you or one of them misbehaved with you. That is not going to change the general perception, no? Or out of hundreds of snakes, one of the snakes, it passed by, but it saw, it checked you out, but did not bite and went away. So can you develop a positive attitude towards a snake? Oh, it is a very kind animal, doesn't mess around unnecessarily. So that's what I mean. Use sometimes common sense before coming up with these explanations, because it eats up the time of the class while I try to explain these minuscule miscellaneous queries. All right, so just develop a basic sense of understanding. Now, as I'm discussing about the utility function related to this, so say Pahawan, just see there is this challenge associated with his connection. I think his connection is again getting stuck. All right. So when we are talking about this given possibility associated with utility function, we can understand that generally there is a positive attitude associated with the we can say politicians. The politicians have a positive attitude towards khadi because they believe that khadi is going to impress upon the people as the common man's clothes, right? So a common man's clothes, and like we can connect with the commoners, we can connect with the masses. So that is going to help building the bridges with the masses as we are talking about it, right? In the similar manner, when we are talking about this utility function, you can see there can be a possibility that in a corporate office a young boy is not in the habit of smoking, but he sees that whenever the boss takes the smoke break, a lot of juniors follow and they try to do buttering while taking the smoke break along with the boss, and get into the good books and share some other kinds of vital information, or get into some informal chit chat. So suppose this young boy who has joined the office also starts taking the smoke break, right? So in that situation, what are we seeing? The person is trying to make a utility function out of the break, the smoke break, which again is unnecessary and it impacts the health also. Similarly, some people who want to be in the high society, high class of Delhi, like the Gymkhana Club, or any such, we can say, uh, posh crowd of Delhi, which is the elite of the elite. Just by having money in Delhi, you don't become elite. So you become elite of the elite when you have contributed culturally, intellectually, or something like that in a meaningful manner, or politically if you are very well connected. So you become a part of the Gymkhana Club, or you get the membership of India International Center. IIC membership is so exquisite that when Lalu Yadav had applied for it, it was rejected. Okay, and that too when he was in power as a politician. So you can really understand that these are some coveted groups of elites. So maybe for getting into these like groups, a person will like go for some specific high-end brands of clothes, expensive cars, okay, because the person believes that like you know the at when the person is endorsing those high-end cars or having those, we can consider expensive articles, goods, expensive watches, expensive clothes, expensive shoes, expensive bags. That is something which is going to generate a positive attitude to stay connected to the larger community. And a positive attitude is something which is keeping everyone together, holding everyone together. All right. So, Gymkhana Club, I said, Ajay. Okay, you can Google search what is Gymkhana Club. It's not necessary everything that you know, right? So it's perfectly fine. So Gymkhana Club, when it was established, why it is such a posh thing to know? When like I'm just talking. What is India International Center? It is again a center of cultural discourse, like you know, intellectual discourse that takes place, whereby the intellectuals from India are able to get connected to the global possibilities. Okay. So with respect to utility function, maybe I can just give it briefly to all of you. So utility function exists in attitudes, that maximize rewards, that maximize rewards and minimize punishment. So what I'll do, that will bring greater acceptance of mine in the society I want to belong to. So what kind of clothes should I wear? Wear khadi or wear specific brands. So maximize rewards and minimize punishments obtained from attitude objects. The attitude which is generated from the objects are attitude objects. So if we can consider a person, so if a person holds or expresses, holds or expresses socially acceptable, attitudes, other people, other people will reward him, her with approval, with approval, and social acceptance. Social acceptance. Right. So that is something associated with utility function when we are speaking of it, right? Further, we can also see ego defensive function associated with the function of attitude when we are talking about it. So what is ego defensive function? You can see the sour grapes declared by the fox. Okay, the grapes were declared sour by the fox. Why? Because the fox could not reach the grapes. So first it tried to reach out, jump and have the grapes, but when it failed to finally get a taste of the grapes, it said, oh, the grapes are sour. I do not care for it. Okay, so that's ego defensive function. When you don't want your ego to be hurt, so you blame the situation or blame the person. Okay, so that is something associated with ego defensive function. Similarly, like let us consider there is a person who is like fat, and the fat person is has a negative attitude towards sports, negative attitude towards eating healthy. Okay, good eating habits. Okay, that person if develops an ego defensive function, the person will be like, stop body shaming, staying fat is not a problem. Okay, uh, and like it's perfectly fine, and the person will make reels and videos to eat a lot of greasy food, and a lot of insta influencers will be like, oh wow, I mean, like you look so beautiful in your body and you can just eat whatever you want. No one should preach you what you are eating. That's a problematic situation. The person is blowing up and will develop diseases. There has to be a balance with respect to the nature of the body, what ought to be consumed and what ought not to be. So, fat shaming, yes, it is a problematic situation if there are hormonal issues, if there are some tremendous issues which are altering the health and the well being of an individual. So, when we are talking about this component pertaining to ego defensive function, we all need to understand that this ego defensive function refers to holding attitudes that protect our self esteem, that protect our self esteem, or that justify actions, or that justify actions um, that justify actions that make us feel guilty, make us feel guilty. So before people mock at us, we start justifying it. So it is more like a defense mechanism. This attitude is more like a defense mechanism that we use to save our self-respect and self-esteem. Okay, more like self-esteem. We don't want like others to mock upon us. So we like use this ego defensive function as a shield, like the we can say the fox saying that the grapes are sour, so I'm not interested, just because it was not reachable. But people should not mock that fellow, he kept jumping and could not even get a little bunch of grapes. So just to save his face and not be mocked for it, he just went for that given possibility. Similarly, when we are talking about value expression, okay, so through our attitude we are able to expose our value structure to the world. So our attitudes help us to express our values. Means values here is also associated with choices, beliefs. Okay, what we believe in, to others, to others. They help us to establish our identity, our identity to both ourselves and others, ourselves and others. Now, with respect to this, when we are speaking of this given subdimension, there are two images which I have created, like Rolex and Omega. You can see both the watches, they look almost similar. But what is the difference between Rolex and Omega? So, Omega is something which any middle class person can afford. But Rolex is something which you think before affording, because first and foremost, for purchasing it, you need at least 8 to 10 lakh rupees in your pocket. That luxury money which you can invest in a luxury watch. So that is the extra money that you need in your pocket, first. Second, after having that kind of money, you also need to have, we can consider the taste, which you can show that I have a very high taste in things. Because after all, watch just shows time, but it's not just showing time. You want to exercise a value for the society, that you are like a high profile person, you are a well connected person, you are aware of all posh brands, you can afford those things. So even if people are unable to make out by your shirt that what is the quality, what is the brand, because sometimes it's not written over the shirt anywhere that which brand it is, or trouser which brand it is, or sometimes even in shoe, until unless you don't micro cross check, you cannot sometimes make out which brand of shoe. So in such a situation, when you are unable to understand and interpret that what is the brand that the person is wearing or carrying, a watch can, or a bag can be a possibility where you can really identify what is the brand of it. So when we are talking about Rolex helping us to identify our status, our position in the society, so people will book it. If you go to purchase a Rolex here in Delhi in CP, you won't be able to buy it. You will have to first like see, choose and book one. Even though the watch is available in front of you, they won't pack it and give it to you. They'll be like, okay sir, so your booking is for next year, so and so month, please come and collect it. That's the condition with respect to Rolex. So it is generating a value, it is generating an impression for you when you carry it in the society, and the society between which you are carrying it. So the society is able to refer and connect what is the value of the watch, or what is the, we can consider, importance of that watch per se. Okay, so that's what we can connect with. So when we are speaking of the component of value expression, there can be differences. Like let's say there are different politicians wearing khadi. As you can see, there is Manmohan Singh ji, there is Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, there is Sharad Pawar, there is Lal Krishna Advani. So there are four leaders who are standing, and all are wearing khadi kurtas. Okay, yet the meaning for them may differ. There is a possibility that one leader is wearing because the person wants to show that I am a people's person, so I'm wearing khadi. Maybe another person is wearing khadi because the person wants to support the khadi weavers. Maybe third person is wearing khadi because the person wants to endorse Gandhian values, that I believe in Gandhian values, hence I'm wearing khadi. So there can be different, we can say, attitudes or different values associated with those attitude objects which a person is portraying while the person is carrying it, while the person is wearing it. All right, when we are speaking of it, right? So this is what different attitude objects can play different attitude functions for different people. Different attitude objects, different attitude objects um, can play different attitude functions, can play different attitude functions for different people, for different people. All right, so like if you are preparing like a nice coffee at home using the right ingredients and right quality of coffee, you can prepare amazing coffee even at home. Like many of my friends say that when I prepare like cold coffee at home, it is sometimes even better than Starbucks, or even better than like Cafe Coffee Day or any such like coffee joint, because I know how to blend and what should be put and in what proportion things ought to be put. But when you are going to Starbucks, those people who go to Starbucks on a regular basis, it's more like a value function, that I can afford this coffee, I can avail the services, like if I'm noticed here very often and putting a post on Instagram related to I being present in such a place, that is something which is going to generate a lot of, we can consider, value function. And that's something which is going to we can connect with this given possibility of the society developing a sense of like a specific impression about me, that oh, this person is kind of well connected, or this person can afford Starbucks on a regular basis, so has some warmth in the pocket and can afford it. So all that stuff we can connect. Okay, so different attitude objects are likely to fulfill a specific function or different functions for different people. As we can see, I gave you the example with respect to khadi as well. All right. So let us take a break and let us resume this session with the next subtopic, that is relationship between attitude and behavior. Okay. So relationship between attitude and behavior. So as we are going to start with this given subsegment, we will be like resuming the session. So it is 8 sharp, 15 minutes break, and then we shall join in. All right, welcome back. When we are discussing about it, Yashwant, as you asked, that please explain utility function again and how it punishment is related to it. Utility function is not particularly associated with punishment, but it's just that you want to increase the acceptance. If acceptance is not there, then definitely it is kind of a punishment when that acceptance has to be negotiated. All right, Yashwant. So you are like choosing something, some object, attitude object, just because you want to increase your level of acceptance in the society. Now, with the next subdimension, as we are reflecting upon the component of relationship between attitude and behavior. So what are the subsegments that can be built upon it? So we all can see the utility function will vary from society to society. Yes, it can vary from society to society. Means behaving with attitude to be accepted, behaving with the attitude, yeah, behaving with the not behaving with the attitude, it is like using a specific thing with a sense of utility associated with it to to achieve a specific objective. So there is an attitude towards that object to achieve a specific goal, like that. All right. Now, so when we are talking about the relationship between attitude and behavior, so you can see like when you are seeing a lot of like examples here, and you can also connect with the given dimensions. So first and foremost, I'm taking up the question that do attitude influence behavior? So does the behavior, like when we are talking about it, when we are talking about it connected to the attitude, so is it always aligned? So it's not necessary that the behavior is aligned with the attitude at all times, or the attitude is influencing the behavior at all times. Okay. For example, okay, for example, we can consider that majority of the children have a negative attitude towards cheating. But what if I say that 4 days before the mains exam, someone is offering you the mains question paper, that have a sneak peek, have an idea what all questions would come, prepare those areas better, just become aware of the chapters which are more important. So, how many children before their mains exam will have the, we can say, clarity and courage to refuse, the internal locus of control to refuse that, no, I mean, whatever the questions are, I don't even want to see it. I want to continue with my preparation. Whatever is my destiny, it shall be determined by the element of surprise I experience in the exam and the content that I'm able to deliver, the content with respect to the nature of answers that I'm able to write. So that is something which all of you can connect with this given dimension, that it is associated with, we can say, our attitude. Similarly, there was a Hindustan Times, case study that nearly, you can see that nearly 52% of Indians, okay, when we are talking about it, so this segment, so nearly, like we can say, 50% of the industry, they don't like their job. 60% say, like, whether the respondents, they love their job. So 60% say they don't, like, love their job when we are speaking of this given subsegment, right? So then again, the breakup is associated with the industry when we are talking about it. So how many people are loving their job, how many people are not liking their job? So there is a detailed bifurcation which all of you can see, right? So when we are seeing this given dimension that you don't like your job, then why are you going for your job? So the behavior is not aligned with the attitude. So here you can reflect upon this, that the behavior is not aligned with attitude. Okay. So this is yet another example which all of you can see, that despite the dislike, they continue to do their job. They continue to do their job despite disliking disliking it. All right. So that's something which you can understand, this given dimension. Okay. Again, we can see with respect to this, when we further move ahead, we can also see negative attitude can be associated with the issue of health. So, like, let's say someone has a positive attitude towards having good health, having good health, and exercising. But, like, let us say the behavior is of the person is going lazy. The person is quite lazy. Okay. The person loves to eat greasy food, loves to eat greasy food. So, in this situation, we can see that the behavior is not aligned with attitude, right? Similarly, like, let us say someone really loves, like, to boast that I really love the environment. My, like, the person exhibits that my attitude is to, like, have a clean environment. So, clean environment, save the environment. So, clean environment, save the environment. All right. So, attitude is this towards the environment. But what if the person wins a lottery, and in the lottery, if the person gets a Ferrari? And when we are talking about a red colored convertible Ferrari, if the person is winning it, okay, and we all know that the footprint of the Ferrari is very high. So, footprint is very high. Now, will the person refuse it? Refuse this, we can say, refuse this award, or like, refuse this. If someone is gifting, then refuse the gift. Okay. So, on an average, we can see high chances that it is no. The person will accept it, even though not drive it very frequently, but the person will still keep it. So, here also we can see the behavior may not necessarily be aligned with the attitude. Then we can see behavior and attitude, how they can be aligned. Okay. So, behavior and attitude can be aligned. For example, you can think of religion or caste related attitudes are very strong in India, right? Are very strong in India. So, for example, a person is like, renting out the property. So, while renting out the property, the person may look into this given subsegment while renting out the property, that let me look into the, like, concerns whereby I, reflect upon the given sub dimension, that how much is going into the possibility of, like, maintaining the given subsegment of my comfort. So, if someone is a Jain or someone is a Brahmin, and the person is getting as a tenant a person belonging to lower caste or some other region of India, from where the people are into meat eating, they will be like, no, no, if you are into meat eating, we are not going to keep you at home. And suppose the person is like, no, 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 I don't eat meat. It's just that earlier I used to eat. So the person is like, okay, but we'll keep a check that you are not ordering non-veg food, and there should be no consumption of non-veg in this house. So that is something which you can connect with the component of this. The people who have the same kind of discriminatory attitude towards religion, they will be hesitant to, like, give the property on rent to people belonging to other religion than that of their own. Okay. So that's also which we all can see. Similarly, we can see another example, that the political attitudes in India are very strong. So political attitudes are strong. And how that's the reason, okay, because of which we can see exit poll. So exit poll is also based on it, is based on it. All the exit polls that we see that are conducted before the results are declared, how do we see that the exit polls are conducted? It is on the basis of mapping the attitudes of the people. No one is going to say that which political party they voted, or on the basis of few individuals who are sharing about who they voted for or who they support for, you cannot like determine the entire trend of the society. Still, how is that done? So that is done because you are able to map the possibility of political attitudes, that what is it that people are selecting or they are like supporting. Similarly, we can see there can be negative attitude towards corruption, right? So when there is negative attitude towards corruption, how it articulates in behavior, so it becomes a part of the behavior in this manner that maybe you can see that you are like giving speeches to your friends, giving speeches, and we can say anti-corruption speeches to your friends, or you are writing Facebook posts. Okay, so you're writing FB posts, or you can see that you are joining some anti-corruption movement. So joining some anti-corruption movement, right? So that's how you are going to work upon it. So there is a link between attitude and behavior. It is not as simple as it seems to be. Okay, there are other like factors also which impact attitude as well as behavior. We need to be very clear about it when we are talking about the CAB model. Okay, so the CAB model also implies that the actual behavior of an individual can be highly correlated to the attitude, right? However, the studies, when you will be reflecting upon the studies, you will be observing that the relationship between attitude and behavior is quite complex. So in simple language, I can say that despite attitude influencing our behavior, the relationship is quite complex, right? The relationship between the two is quite complex. The relationship between the two is quite complex, and and we can say and difficult to determine only on the basis of one factor. Basis of one factor. There have to be various factors to be kept in mind when we are discussing about this. So a lot of factors influence the attitude and behavior. Okay, and though CAB model is relevant, it's valid, it's correct, there's so many complexities to human behavior, the way people think, process and understand. In the mind of their minds, they will be thinking like slapping the person, and like the manifested behavior will be like smiling and saying, oh yes, really, okay, fine, that's amazing that you did it. Okay, so like that. So this kind of contradiction also you can see, whereby like the cognitive aspect is like quite negative, the affective aspect is quite negative, the behavioral aspect, like the past experiences, has also been negative, but attitude is like very polite, very calm, very sophisticated. So when we are talking about attitude and behavior, it's not necessary that attitude and behavior are always aligned, though they are connected, but the complexity is always there. Now there are two functions or two fundamental questions that can be asked, okay, related to this relation. First, do attitudes influence behavior? When we speak of it, okay, so when we are talking about this given possibility that do attitudes influence behavior, you will be like, yes, sometimes it does when we are talking about it. Okay, so if someone is asking that do attitudes influence behavior, so you will be saying that yes and no and mixed. All the possibilities are there. It can be yes, it can be a no, it can be a mixed, all the three possibilities. Okay, because there are other factors also, other factors that influence behavior, influence the behavior. Like for example, we can consider the job of the person, right? It can be the environment, it can be the health of the person, it can be associated with the community that the person belongs to, like the caste, Okay, so a lot of things, okay, can influence the final behavior of the individual. Okay, so that's also there. Now, there are other factors which can influence the behavior. So, first and foremost, we can determine it on the basis of the possibility of quality of a person. When quality of a person also impacts the behavior of the individual. So, when I'm saying that factors that influence the behavior, so quality of a person, when the person is working according to the attitude, the person, like when we are talking about the person is working as per the attitude, so the person possesses the attitude of integrity, wisdom, courage, emotional intelligence. That is, the person is having negative attitude maybe towards corruption. Okay, and the emotional intelligence will further stop the person from becoming corrupt. Similarly, an optimistic attitude, certain habits like kleptomania and all, the person refrains from any such thing. That the person, it happens, we are in isolation, there are expensive things lying around us. A kleptomaniac will have a tendency to pick it and put it in the pocket. So that's kleptomania. Similarly, we can see that there can be a possibility whereby a person may have this given tendency of maybe jumping the red light or small errors in life, which encourages the possibility of having bad habits. So when we are speaking of habit, okay, you can also connect it with motivation, when whether a person is open to change oneself or not. Okay, so open to change oneself. Okay, so emotional intelligence strengthens good habits, as I told you, strengthens good habits, or we can consider positive attitudes slash positive attitudes. So okay, similarly, when I was talking about habit, I implied it that, small acts of life, small acts of life, like for example, I said, whether you are jumping the traffic light or not, jumping the traffic light or not. So all these things will also determine the component of integrity, and the component of the qualities that a person possesses. So all these is also going to impact the final behavior of the individual when we are talking about other factors other than attitude, that can influence the behavior of an individual. So other than the qualities within the person, we can also reflect upon qualities of a situation. So qualities of a situation, like for example, a person is a vegetarian, a pure vegetarian, and we can consider the person is a pure vegetarian. And when we are talking about this given possibility during Navratras. So in general, the person is non-vegetarian, but when it is the time period of Navratra, and the person is like, let's say, a North Indian Hindu, so North Indian Hindu, so the person starts observing vegetarianism during those 9 days. Similarly, again, qualities of a situation is like, again, for example, I can say, if your family is an atheist, okay, so family is an atheist. So in that situation also, even if you don't believe in God, but the family is pressurizing you to pray, so you act to pray. You act to pray, even if you are not truly believing in the idea of God or a deity. So that's also there. You have a negative attitude to go to temple, but the family is dragging you along and you are just lingering on. Okay, so the very first thing is, like, in the quality of situation, you can see it is associated with like the environment you are associated with, the people you are associated with, right? Again, second thing is the nature of society when we are speaking of it. So like we can see that Indians, they have a collective attitude, staying in a community, being together, whereas America, the American society is ridden by individualism, high levels of individualism, and your decisions are based on what you are. But in India, we can see that the quality of a situation gets influenced by the society, because the family members, the extended members, they can push you, the society, the neighbors, they can push you, brainwash you into preparing for UPSC exams. So you wanted to become a cricketer or a singer or a dancer or something like that, and it is the rest of the society that is pushing you into a situation and like encouraging you to take up the exam. So even if it is not initially a part of your attitude, but it is the quality of the situation which pushed you into a behavior that you start exercising. Again, we can see there can be also pressure of time. Pressure of time, for example, the UPSC question paper, the GS paper 4 is very lengthy, very lengthy, and 6 case studies. Can you beat it? So there is so much of reading that is involved. So first you read, then you interpret, then you recall the content, you structure the content, and then you write. Why is it done? So that when there is paucity of time, when there is like tremendous lack of time, you act on the basis of your basic instincts. And when you act upon your basic instincts, it will be easier to map your personality. So also quality of the situation, I can probably give this as an example. So for example, we can say time pressure, time pressure, time pressure, and pressure of time where in GS paper 4. And what happened? Due to paucity of time, paucity of time, the true inclinations, I'm not saying biases because it's not necessary everyone is motivated by a bias. Okay. So the true inclinations or attitudes can surface up, can surface up. That is why it is said that individuals are more likely to base their decisions on their attitudes when they are under time pressure. Okay. So when you are put under the pressure of time, there is a like high chance that you will be acting upon your attitude, because that at that time the attitude surfaces up. Again, we can see qualities of attitude, qualities of attitude which can also influence the possibility of our behavior. So other than attitude, like when we are talking about it, we can also see the quality of attitude can also be reflected from two possibilities: weak attitude and like strong attitude. So weak attitude, when the correlation of the individual with that attitude is less, and strong attitude is when your correlation is more. So correlation is more. You can recall the graph if you are able to connect it with the previous session. So you can recall the graph and you can just understand that how that strong correlation is something which creates the given subsegment. So that very possibility of high correlation or low correlation can also influence our attitude. Okay. So with respect to this given dimension, that weak correlation and strong correlation can also influence the attitude, we can reflect it from this given question, that can a strong behavior also influence our attitude? Can the reverse can also happen, that when because we are expressing a very strong, very aggressive behavior, so a strong assertive, okay, so strong assertive, other words I'm giving you, so assertive aggressive behavior, can that also influence our attitude when we are talking of this? Okay. So strong and weak I have already discussed, Sakib. You should have been present in the previous session when I was discussing the graph. So when there is strong attitude and when there is weak attitude. So strong negative, weak negative, strong positive, weak positive. I've already discussed it. Okay. With a lot of examples. So if you have missed that session, I remember you were present probably. Yes. Okay. So connect with that. Now, when we are discussing about this, a strong or assertive behavior influencing our attitude. So, the New Zealand team, as you can see this, the New Zealand rugby team, it performs the haka dance. Okay. So, the so-called haka dance that they provide, that they perform. So, this haka dance is related, it is quite, I would say, aggressive kind of a dance. It's quite aggressive. So when they are like constantly performing that dance, so and they are like being very assertive, they are like making loud noises. So when they have to start the game with so much of warm up and so much of aggression, loud noises, cheering that they have done while performing that dance, that just rouses their spirit, that prepares them with the right kind of aggression needed for the game. Okay. Similarly, you can see that the tennis players, when the tennis players are playing tennis, they make a lot of loud noises, ha and who, like that. Why the ha and who going on? Because with all the loud noises that they make, they assert this given possibility that the shot is quite aggressive, and the uh, player on the other side gets intimidated by the like we can say the noise, and the player is able to see that the other side player is quite aggressive, the other side player is quite confident, quite assertive. So that is a mark of, we can say, subtly playing down the opponent. Okay. Again, you can see the other image is from Munna Bhai MBBS. So in Munna Bhai MBBS, those who watched it, you could see that Sanjay Dutt had a very negative attitude towards non-violence and towards Gandhian ways of correcting the situation. But he fakes it. He keeps faking it under the term Gandhigiri in the university campus. So when he keeps faking it, towards the end of the film, you can see that the movie depicts that his attitude really changes. He really embraces or endorses non-violence, and that is something which helps him connect with his father also quite exhaustively. So his attitude changes towards the end when we are speaking about this given subsegment pertaining to this dimension. Okay, so and that is how we are able to see that he towards the end starts endorsing to truth and non-violence. Again, we can connect it with other examples also. We can see that the Independence Day, why do we endorse the flag on our chest here and there, on our cars, windows, etc.? Because there is a patriotic air, and in the patriotic environment we are expressing our strong patriotic attitude. Okay. Similarly, we can see during festivals, why do we wear religious symbols, maybe specific types of clothes, specific types of caps, specific types of jewelry, or specific types of activities? Why? Because a festival attitude gets created. The attitude needed for the festival gets created. Again, we can also take an experiment that was a focus group experiment that was done towards smoking. So what was done, that the people who were supposed to enact, those individuals were first seen whether they were into the habit of smoking or not. So people were invited saying that they are going to be hired for a play. So a lot of actors were interested to do the play. So they were like, first their acting skills, this and that was tested as if really it is going to happen. And then those individuals were asked if they are into the habit of smoking, and how often have they been smoking, how frequent is their intensity to smoke. So after like gathering all the information, what was done was that these individuals were like encouraged to enact in the play that they have got cancer, lung cancer, and they are lying on the bed, and how they are like feeling helpless, and how other characters are unable to save the person, and the person had to do all that acting for stretch of days. So by the time a week passed, on the seventh day when they were interviewed, they had developed a profound sense of negative attitude towards smoking, just because of role playing. They were just acting in that play, right, and doing the rehearsal of the play. But because of continual rehearsal day in and day out, morning to night, they developed a negative attitude towards smoking. We can see that. Similarly, when there is this we can say anecdote coming from the mythology of Ramayana, whereby Ravana, after abducting Sita, he tried to woo her when she was staying in Ashok Vatika. And as he tried to woo her, he used to get like expensive silk and gifts and clothes and this and that. So food items, etc. And he used to say that, oh, you will be my prime queen if you accept the offer of cohabiting with me. So all that stuff when was done, so she was not interested. So one of the courtiers one day suggested him that, why don't you dress up like Rama? so that when you look like Rama, when you talk like him, she will be able to connect with you, associate with you. To which Ravana himself said that I cannot dare to talk like Rama or dress up like Rama, because if I start behaving like Rama, I won't be able to touch her, because Rama possessed the attitude of never looking at another woman. Shurpanakha incident happened because of that. Shurpanakha said that I'm really enticed by you. You're such a handsome looking man. Why don't you cohabit me and make me your wife? To which, like Rama said that I'm already in a relationship with my wife and I am like monoistically committed to her. So I am monogamous. I'm not intending to marry any other woman ever other than her. To which, Shurpanakha, she got aggressive and she started taking out her fangs and fighting the situation out, to which Lakshman chopped off her nose. So in this, and with this, I am reminded that the Wadyar army in South India also used to chop off the nose every time it used to go to fight any enemy, any community, any caste, any religion. Just hack off the nose. Even people who are rebelling against the king, hack off the nose. Anyway, so when we are talking about the incident of Shupnakha and the brother knowing about it, so he said that if I develop the attitude of Rama, I won't be able to look at another woman, a woman other than my wife. So I cannot dress up like Rama or talk like Rama, because if I'm imitating his attitude, it will impact me. And when it impacts me, I won't be able to woo Sita, because deep down I know she's not my wife. Okay. So, similarly, when the government also tries to prohibit the people from doing something, so like along with prohibiting the thing, it also tries to work on, we can say, changing the attitude, sorry, changing the behavior of the people. They consider that if the behavior will be changed, the attitude automatically can get affected, right? So that's also there, which we can consider with respect to this. Like it tries to change the behavior of the people with respect to this kind of dimension when we are talking about it. So you can motivate people, okay, by like following a specific behavior, and that also starts impacting the attitude of the individuals accordingly. So when the government of Bihar, it wanted to discourage the consumption of alcohol, it stopped the availability of alcohol, so that when the people will not find alcohol, their behavior will change. And when their behavior changes, in the long run, their attitude towards alcohol shall also change. Okay. So that's how we all can understand that people, they need to seek consistency in their attitude and behavior. And when there is discrepancy between attitude and behavior, then in that situation, something needs to change in order to eliminate or reduce cognitive dissonance. So, what is cognitive dissonance when we speak of it? So, it is a feeling of discomfort that results from holding like specific conflicting beliefs or conflicting behavior with the attitude, and that discomfort in a person, if it increases, then that can create a lot of unrest, uneasiness. So we can change the cognitive dissonance by changing the behavior of the person, or by ignoring the importance of the conflict, or even changing the attitude of the person. So all those possibilities can also be there, by which we can work on the cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance, as I just shared with you, it is what? It is a theory of social philosophy. It refers to mental conflict that occurs in a person's behavior when the behavior and the beliefs, they do not align. Okay. So for example, what is cognitive dissonance? So let's say animal cruelty is wrong. A person is feeling that, oh, I should not kill animal. When an animal is about to get killed, when I see in the eyes of a goat, I see in the eyes of a, like, let's say a chicken, I feel so guilty. Okay. So the animal cruelty is wrong. That's what the person is feeling. But at the same time, the person is reminded of the taste of the meat of the animal, and the person is like, but it's also tasty, what to do? And the animal is passing by doing moo and kiu and chew, okay, something like that. So there is cognitive dissonance that occurs in the mind of the person when we are speaking of it. Okay. So similarly, we can see cognitive dissonance can happen to smokers. So a person who's a smoker, and the person is also aware that it causes cancer, so the person is experiencing cognitive dissonance in that given situation. All right. So I hope all of you are able to understand this given subsegment pertaining to cognitive dissonance as well. So it is the discomfort that is resulting from conflict between your behavior and the belief system or the attitude that you possess towards something. And how can we change it? So cognitive dissonance can be done away with first change in behavior. So either you change your behavior, the act that you are performing, or you change your attitude. Like it's fine to eat non-vegetarian because not everyone can switch to vegetarian. The earth will be experiencing a dearth of food grain. So either change your behavior or change your attitude or ignore the importance of conflict. So ignore the importance of conflict. All right. So this is how you can do away with cognitive dissonance when we are speaking of it. And as we further try to understand, we can then move into, when we are understanding the structure, the function, the components of attitude and how attitude is connected to behavior. So four important subcomponents associated with attitude is completed. Then we can connect it with moral attitude when we are speaking of it. So under that, we can, when we are discussing about moral attitude, we can understand that there are three different meanings of moral attitude. So we can say, when we are talking about it, three different meanings of moral attitude. First is our general attitude towards morality. So how is it? And when I speak of our general attitude towards morality, okay, we can see that we can reflect upon the possibility that how are we understanding, or we can dearth on earth. Dearth means when there is a lack of availability of resources on the earth. Okay, so dearth means when there is lack of resources, not sufficient availability of anything is associated with the term dearth. All right. So when we are discussing about this given dimension of moral attitude, so moral attitude, we can understand it is quite subjective. And when it is subjective, so it is open to different meanings, different interpretations. Okay, so there are three different meanings when we are talking about it. So first one is our general attitude towards morality. With respect to our general attitude towards morality, when we are discussing about this given subsegment, we can connect this possibility with, we can say that how we are in general considering about morality, how important is morality, or how we should behave morally, why we should behave morally. That is something which we can connect with. Okay, again, second thing which we can consider is associated with only first has been typed. Okay, the second thing which we can consider is associated with our attitudes that help in integrating our morals with our actions. Our morals with our actions. Okay, our morals with our actions. Like, for example, we can think of reverence. So, what is reverence? A deep sense of respect that you possess towards someone. So, due to reverence, suppose the principal has entered the classroom, the president has come in your classroom. So, due to reverence, you stand up. You are thrilled to see the person. You have a deep sense of respect for that person. So, reverence is mixture of, we can consider fear, okay, with deep sense of respect. Okay, you can also see veracity. Veracity means truthfulness. So, veracity, truthfulness. Okay, we can connect it with responsibility, or we can consider connect it with goodness. So, goodness, we can connect it with faithfulness. Okay, so all those given possibilities can be connected with our general attitude towards morality when we are discussing about the same. Again, when we are talking about it, ma'am, please explain ignorance in the conflict line. Ignorance in the conflict line. Where is it written? Ignorance in the conflict line. Please support him, SME. I cannot make sense of what he is asking. If it is something associated with something in the past, just explain it to him. How is moral attitude different from moral integrity? Well, moral integrity is something which is inspiring you to possess the attitude, right? So moral attitude is a manifestation of moral integrity. That's what you can understand now. So with respect to this, when we are talking about it, a third proposition which we can think is attitudes are based on our moral convictions, what we believe morally. So they are based on our moral convictions. Okay. So our general attitude towards morality, our moral convictions, and along with that, we can see that how we are integrated with our attitude. That is something which we all need to connect with. A combination of it is going to create the possibility of how moral attitude is getting manifested in our society. Okay. So, if someone raises this given question, which I have presented before all of you, what kind of attitude people have towards morality at large, okay, especially in a developing country in India, okay. So, you can see that many a times we see that what we do not practice what we preach, okay, and why we do not practice what we preach, whatever we, it is not getting manifested in our actions, for the simple reason that we have either weak positive attitude, or we have neutral attitude, or we have ambiguous attitude, all right, so towards the things, because of which we can see that the possibility of thinking clearly and enacting upon what we believe in may go missing. So a person is good only till the chance the person is not getting a chance to go corrupt or go bad, okay. So a very funny example which was given to me was by one of my friends, that once what happened, an IAS officer who was highly corrupt, when friends met, so there were different friends associated with different subsegments of life, different jobs. One was a doctor, one engineer, then two three were officers, and one was a teacher. So when they met, the primary school teacher, he said that to the three officers, that you people are so corrupt, you have disturbed the society, you have done this, you have done that. To which, the friend who was an officer, he said that, master, what will you do? Will you go and steal pieces of chalk or the duster? Have you got even an opportunity to swim with crores of rupees and then exercise integrity? It is easy to like talk about integrity from distance. When you are put into the situation, then the behavior that you possess is your real attitude, is your real moral attitude. So speaking about morality theoretically is easier. Okay, so that's what we can see. In India, people possess like weak positive attitude, or a neutral attitude, or an ambiguous attitude towards moral attitudes. And the reason is quite simple. The reason is what? So the reason is that morality in India is in transition. Our idea of right and wrong is in transition. For example, post independence, we introduced the idea of equality via constitution, but the society had not experienced equality in a bottom up approach. Like in Europe, there was French Revolution, there was people's movements which brought political change. People's movement where people were changing their attitude, their temperament, their thought process, and that is how the change was articulated. Not only just French Revolution, after French Revolution also, for next 60 years, the government in France remained quite unstable. Democracy took time to ripen and mature with multiple debates, dialogues, insights, and then only it could establish itself when we are speaking of it. So when we are discussing about equality versus inequality, we all can see that when there is a bottom up approach to moral development or political development, the acceptance of idea is tremendous. But when the bottom up approach is missing, so you will include the term in the constitution of equality, but in practice people will continue to discriminate in the lines of gender, caste, region, religion, etc. Okay, so that's why our morality is in transition, because customary practices have not changed. Okay, so customary practices continue to exist and followed, and equality is a constitutional value that you are introduced to. So constitutional value a person is introduced to, right? So that is something which all of us can connect with when we are discussing about this given dimension. All right, so with respect to this, when we are talking about morality is in transition in India, so like constitutional values you are introduced, customary practice continue to exist. So like in public place you are not exercising caste based discrimination, but it in your own home your grandma is saying that if a person is coming from lower caste, keep separate utensils, feed the person in those utensils, don't use the same utensils that are used in the household for all. Okay, so you will see that because we are in transition, our idea of morality is quite in confusion, what we ought to follow and what we ought not to follow, and all that is something which is going to influence how we tend to, we can say, respond or react. So our moral structures are also not clear. Okay, so we can say lack of clear moral structures. We also have contrasting values. Okay, hence like in general our morality is weak or neutral when we are speaking of it, right? Again, the second sub dimension which we can think of is that our attitudes, when we are talking about this question, that what kind of attitude people would have in a developing country like India. So you can see that we can have attitudes which help in integrating our morals with our actions. So how are our morals getting integrated with our actions? So we can connect it with reverence. Okay, so reverence, you understand, a feeling of like great sense of respect, veracity, that is constantly telling truth and cross checking any information before believing it. That is what veracity encourages. Again, responsibility, duty, faithfulness. Okay, so when we are speaking of all of this, or goodness, these are nothing but we can consider that the specific attitudes that is helping our morality to connect with our action. Okay, and when we speak of goodness, I can also connect it with Yudhishthira. So Yudhishthira, he said that actively helping those who are in need and passively not harming others is the idea of goodness. Okay, so you can, like when you are not able to understand what is goodness, here is the like technical explanation or definition of what goodness is. When you are actively helping those people who are in need and you are passively not harming other people, that is the idea of goodness. Similarly, I have also given you the example coming from Islam, that what are the three stages of goodness. The first stage of goodness is when you are exercising goodness to your benefactors, like your immediate family, your loved ones. Okay, second stage of goodness is when you are exercising goodness in anticipation, that I will do good, so I'll receive good. I will do good, so God is watching, someday karma will repeat itself, good things will happen to me. So you are doing in anticipation, you are being good in the hope of good things happening to you. Okay, so that's something which we can consider. And third is unconditional goodness, when you don't expect anything in return, you are good because you are good. You are good because that is who you are. So there is no other reason for the possibility of you going good. So This unconditional goodness can be understood from Gandhiji's talisman or helping the poor, the idea associated with it. We can also connect it with constitution when we are talking about performing our fundamental duties. Why we need to be good? Because it's a fundamental duty. That's why we need to be good and constantly exercise that behavior. Another thing, why be good? So religion also talks about it, that it is a core aspect of religious commandment, that you have to be good. If you're a religious person, you have to be good. So we can see that there can be unconditional reasons as well when we are talking about exercising goodness. So that is yet another reason how attitudes can help in integrating our morals with our actions. Okay, so morals get close or connected to our actions in a third world country like India, and that's how attitude can further help. Simultaneously, we can reflect upon this given dimension, that attitudes, they are based on our moral convictions. Okay, what are our moral convictions? So we know that um, attitudes are based on our cognitive component. Cognitive means reasoning component, understanding, belief component. So reasoning, facts, belief, remember all that which we have already done, belief, facts, right? So when attitude is based on cognitive component, like the cognitive aspect says exercise gender equality. So the attitude will be exercising, like when we are talking about it, so the given dimension, so will the attitude be based on gender discrimination in such a situation? Okay, so when we are able to see that gender equality is influencing the given possibility, so there will be no gender discrimination. So if your attitude is against gender discrimination, you then only will be exercising gender equality, and that's based on the reasoning that why there should be no gender discrimination, how it harms and hurts the status of women, their wholesome well-being, their possibility to perform. So that's how you are able to connect with this given subdimension. So conviction is determination, satyam. Okay, so moral conviction means the determinants, the promises, the oaths that we take morally when we consider something, that this is morally correct, okay, and this is morally incorrect. So our moral conviction, now you're understanding, the convictions are strong beliefs, strong beliefs, which is a part of our thought process and personality, because it's like what to say, it's more like an internal promise to yourself, that this is how I'll behave, this is how I will think, this is how I'll process. Okay, so attitudes, it is based on our moral convictions, the moral promises, clarity of ideas or insights that we possess when we speak of it. Okay, do our technical team manages audio of the class? I have no clue about it. Not your class. From our end, everything is managed. And from our end, the audio is going seamless. Akula. Okay. All these things and topics are very much interrelated. So very true. So very true. Okay. So, okay, fix audio option is there. Akula, if you can listen to me, you can just do that. Now, so as we all are able to understand that attitudes, they can be associated with our cognitive component or strong moral beliefs or moral convictions that we have. All right. So that is how we tend to behave in a specific manner. Now again, there is a difference between moral, amoral, and non-moral. Okay. So when we are talking about moral, what do we imply by this given subsegment? So when we are talking about moral, a person who's motivated by morality, that is moral, right? When we are speaking of, like, let's say non-moral, so non-moral is a person who is also called amoral, like a child. Okay, means the person has nothing to do with, we can say, morality. The person has the issue does not involve morality. Like for example, I can give you, for example, sitting on a chair. So sitting on a chair, this has nothing to do with morality, right? You are traveling to a place, so traveling to a place, it has nothing to do with morality. So amoral or non-moral acts are also there, and amoral or non-moral acts are those acts which are, we can consider, um, have nothing to do with morality. Okay, so acts that have nothing to do with morality. Similarly, when we are talking about moral, we can think that acts which are affected or can affect, both ways, the morality, right? And how can we understand this? For example, we can say the Sri Lankan government going against Tamilians. Okay, so Sri Lankan government attitude towards Tamilians. Okay, you can also connect it with, like, let's say, um, issues pertaining to acid attack. So, acid attack, issues associated with stalking, issues associated with rape. Yeah. So in this, we can see that when the attitude determines the behavior and it is based on moral convictions. If moral convictions are there, you will not behave in a specific manner that is derogatory to humanity, that is harming other people. And you will be always keeping in mind the well being of the larger society. Okay. So, moral attitudes, when we are discussing about this given subsegment, okay, so when we are talking about moral attitudes, we all can connect that moral attitude has to do with, it has to do with the possibility of, we can say, moral convictions that we have, our idea of right and wrong that we have, and we have been conveying it to others over the time period. And moral convictions have great power. They have great power because they are more extreme, they are more important for us in our lives than other attitudes. And when moral convictions are more important for us than other attitudes, they guide our thought process and behavior towards specific situations. Okay, so that's what moral attitudes are associated with. Okay, so I hope you are understanding this. Yeah, so maybe I can simplify and write it down. So, moral attitudes are based on moral convictions, moral convictions, and may convey, and may convey our concept of, our concept of right and wrong to others. Right and wrong to others. They have greater power, they have great power as they are more extreme and important, more extreme and important than other attitudes we can consider. Okay, so than other attitudes, right? So that's what we all can consider when we are speaking of this given dimension. All right, as we are substantiating about this specific dimension. So, moral attitudes, we can see that they have specific qualities. So, this is also what we can say. Moral attitudes have specific qualities. Specific qualities. And what are the specific qualities associated with moral attitudes when we speak of it? So, first is universal, second is they have strong emotion, and third is they have strong motivation. So, moral attitudes, they have these specific qualities that they are universal. Universal means majority of the people believe in that attitude, like truthfulness, right? Like, for example, exercising kindness and compassion towards the vulnerable section. So these moral attitudes are universal across the world. The entire world or majority of the world believes and behaves in those given components. So why will we say that the Sri Lankan attitude towards Tamilians is incorrect? Because it is not in consonance with the larger moral attitude of exercising human rights towards your citizens. When that is getting affected, it is then that we raise a voice against it. Yes, honesty is the best policy when we are talking about it. Okay. So, one of your friends is asking what is immoral. Sakib is asking that, to which SME has correctly replied that immoral refers to something that is morally wrong, unethical, while amoral refers to lack of moral judgment or disregard for moral principles. You are not regarding it. There are two examples associated with amoral. A child who's not introduced to the idea of what is correct, what is incorrect. So the child is also in a blank state. So that is also called amoral state. And another is there are issues which don't need the discretion of exercising morality, like which chair to sit, which city to travel to, nothing associated with morality. So that is also something which we can connect with. Okay. Anyway, so when we are talking about universal, you can understand how moral attitudes are universal, like pertaining to honesty, truthfulness, humanity, all that, right? Again, moral attitudes, they possess strong emotions, very strong emotions when we speak of it. Like, for example, people believe that their morality is hurt when someone is talking about, like we can see the Hindus, they believe their morality is hurt when in any part of the world people are talking about eating beef. Okay. So I had a professor, and this professor, he was a hardcore vegetarian, but his family was into eating non-veg food. Okay. And he was very rational about it, that yes, it is not a part of my culture, my palate is not developed, and I do not enjoy like non-vegetarian food. I have not experimented with it, and I never felt like, but that's okay. My son, my daughter, my wife, all of them eat non-veg, and I'm fine with it. The world needs to balance our nature of consumption. It's okay. Now, as he said this, he also said, but at the same time, my strong moral attitude towards not eating like cow, though I do not worship cow per se, but I have a sense of, like I would say, that a sense of belief that if it is important and has some cultural symbolism for me, I will not prefer that the animal is like hurt or it is killed. That morality is not there for, we can say, other animals. So I don't mind if people are eating other animals. But he said that when he visited US with his like son who was studying over there, so he said, I saw that there were restaurants which were keeping an entire leg of the cow on the table, and people were cutting it and eating it. Or there was like parts of like roasted cow which were hanging, and you could just go and ask for a specific part, get it chopped, and you could eat it. So he was like, my morality was like shaken. So my son knew that, so he said that, Papa, don't move in that direction, because that's the barbecue zone, and like there will be different parts of the animal that will be hanging, so it will like offend you, your moral attitude will be repulsed. So it's better, though he was okay about eating meat, but he was not okay to witness it in this scale. So he took his father in another wing of the restaurant, and then they ate peacefully. So that is something which we can connect. Suppose a person is belonging to the Muslim community, and suppose the person is traveling to certain parts of like Southeast Asia. So if the person is going to certain pockets of, we can say, Thailand, or certain pockets of, we can say, Philippines, especially I have seen this in Philippines, there is lechon. Lechon is actually roasted pig. So what they do is, it was so like shocking for me also. There was a huge tray, and in the huge tray the entire pig was kept, roasted, kept. So the entire body was kept, okay, and the entire body was roasted. uh, I don't know how the entire body was roasted, and whether the other internal parts were clean, not this, that I was unable to think. But seeing the entire full body okay, with legs and this and that, everything intact, the entire body being roasted, some veggies kept around it, and the head was hacked off, the head was separately roasted, the mouth was open, and it was kept like this, like a trophy, just next to the body. Okay, so the head was like hacked off, cut, and it was like facing the sky, like that, with an open mouth facing the sky. So when for the first time I saw, I was like under a cultural shock. I was like, huh, how is this being served? And it was considered as a delicacy. People like huge families, they used to order that entire tray, that entire plate, and they used to choose which parts to eat. Similarly, in buffet meals, that was placed on a specific corner. People who are interested to eat roasted lechon, they could have it. So you can understand that our like consumption of pig is not a part of like a moral consciousness in our part of the world, that is in India. So we can see that consumption of cow or pig or any such animal to which the sense of right and wrong has been established firmly. So when that has been established firmly, even if you are a meat eater, you may not be comfortable witnessing it when other cultures are doing it. So that's why you understand that there are strong emotions associated with our, we can say, moral attitude. Similarly, there is strong motivation associated with moral attitude, strong motivation to profess it, to propagate it, to canvass upon it, to, like, encourage the world or other people to follow, like strong motivation. So for example, if someone has gender equality in their moral attitude, so the person will have a strong motivation to talk about gender equality. Suppose a person believes in, like, at all times, secularism ought to be practiced, diversity needs to be respected and appreciated, such a person will have a strong motivation to bring that point on and keep explaining in that specific direction. All right. So the like these three qualities are not there with beliefs. Like man have given an example of his friend eating okra. Yes, I had given that. So morals are guiding principles which are guiding the individual behavior, yes, but of a community. Okay, but of a community, when we are talking about the given possibility of moral attitude. So the moral attitude the individual is inheriting from the community, it's not in isolation. I do not develop my morality, my sense of right and wrong is coming from the larger community in which I have been born, brought up, lived, when we are speaking of this given dimension, right? So morals are guiding principles which guide individual behavior. Yes, that's there. But still, Ilma, I hope you are able to connect with the background of it, that your morals are not coming in the thin air, in isolation. That you are like able to develop your morality in the light of values and ethics of the society, right? So moral attitude, when we are discussing about this, so you can just reflect upon this given subdimension, that moral attitudes, they have specific qualities. And what are the qualities? They are universal, strong emotion, and based on like motivation. Okay. So that's why we can see that moral attitudes, they can have pro-social consequences. They can also appear to have a dark side as well, right? And moral convictions and attitudes, they can lead to rigidity in behavior, it can lead to rivalry between different communities, right, when we speak of it. So it can also lead to poor level of cooperation and consensus in society, because one community is saying this meat is good, another is saying that meat is good, and on that basis they start fighting with each other, judging each other, start calling names to each other, saying that these people are stupid, or they are fools, or they have poor sets of beliefs. Okay. Or when we are speaking of this given subsegment, we can also see that uh, people can have enforced beliefs associated with this given subdimension, right? Or when we can also see that that can be associated with the subcomponent of so I hope Misbah, as you asked, that can moral attitude be positive or negative, so I'm already discussing it, and I hope you are able to connect with this. All right. So when we are speaking of this given dimension, we can understand that when we call one religion superior to that of other, all that is also coming, all that is also arriving because of we distancing ourselves from the social norms of others, having disagreement over social norms of other communities, and that is something which leads to loss of social capital as well. Again, acceptance of violence can happen because of this given scenario. It can also lead to moral policing, because groups like Bajrang Dal or anti-Maratha sentiment exercised in Maharashtra, all that is possible. Like, sorry, anti-Maratha, I said. We can say North India sentiment being, and pro-Maratha sentiment being exercised in Maharashtra, that can be also associated with this so-called moral policing. So this moral policing is also something which we are able to understand. It is emerging from the moral attitudes that people possess. Hence, we can say that one must possess the quality to review and upgrade one's moral convictions and attitude on a continual basis. Okay, I hope you are understanding that. So, do we need to have a strong moral attitude if this question comes? So, do we need to have a strong moral attitude, or a like a strong moral attitude? Uh, or a healthy one can be mentioned or may not be mentioned. So, in this situation, you speak of, rather than strong, we need to have healthy moral attitude, because moral attitude, although they have positive consequences, they can have dark side as well. They can be rigid, they can be more distant, they can create more distance between people, it can create rivalry amongst people, it can impact the cooperation amongst the people, the consensus amongst the people. There can be disagreement over various social norms. This is right or this is right. People can have differential interpretations associated with social norms, and that can lead to loss of social capital. There can also be acceptance of violence towards other community, just to impose one's moral attitude, because I feel this is correct, this should be followed by everyone, all. Like, for example, I remember this news had come from some pocket of Pakistan, whereby rosa was going on, and a person who was not observing rosa, belonged to some other community, was eating, so he was beaten to death. But that was not the purpose of rosa, okay, when we speak of it. Similarly, cow vigilantism, in the name of cow vigilantism, 3 years back, we saw the case whereby there were two thin Dalit boys who were taking the cows to sell them in the this animal market. And as they were taking them, some these vigilant groups, they came, and these vigilant groups, they started beating those boys in the name of caste and religion. So we can see that acceptance of violence can happen when a person feels that I need to impose my moral attitude, what I feel is right should be followed by all around me. So hence, we need to have, what should be there, a strong moral attitude? No, we need to have a healthy moral attitude. And how to have a healthy moral attitude? So, healthy moral attitude comes from the capability of being open to review and upgrade one's moral convictions and attitudes on continual basis, on the basis of what is logical, on the basis of what is in the larger interest of the society, what is pro humanitarian in concern. Okay, can we say that universal morality is aligned with strong moral motivation or conviction in morality? Yes, but not always. That's why, when it is not always in consonance, that's why the frictions occur. So, going against cultural norms can be good as well. So, can we say that being immoral is not unethical always? Um, Questioning the morality is the correct word, which I would say. Being immoral is not ethical, that will mess up with the meaning of moral. Okay, so that's what you can understand. So, can we say terrorism is outcome of applying moral attitude? Prakhar, when you ask this question, you don't understand the meaning of terrorism. Okay, because terrorists are not exercising moral attitude, they are exercising their political or some kind of economic aspirations. So it has not to do with morality. So it's an incorrect allegiance. So healthy moral attitude, yes, it incorporates tolerance. Definitely, tolerance is a basic prerequisite when we are talking about this given segment. All right. So can we say that universal mind, I've already discussed this. Mm, going against the church, this I have discussed. All right. So I've seen something like 20 odd questions. If someone's question is not getting addressed, you can just copy paste. Okay. So, ma'am, since morals depend on individual choice, so can it not be in alignment to ethics many a times? Yes, it is in alignment with ethics most of the times, Yashwant. No, not Yashwant, Pulkit, because for the simple reason we are not deriving our morals in the thin air out of the blue. We are getting inspired with our morals by the ethics that we are introduced to, the values that we are introduced to. I said it few minutes back. So instead of moral attitude, can we say ethical attitude? No, we cannot. Because ethos are there, but we don't practice the ethos in totality, in the most absolute form. It is the interpretation of the ethics at individual or community level that is put to practice. That's why you cannot say ethical attitude. Yashwant. Okay. So, difference between immoral and non-moral has been discussed, Mispa. Be more alert in the class. You can find it even on the internet because twice I have explained. So, I don't want to again waste my energy. So, ma'am, Afghanistan, they want to force Sharia. So, can we say that applying of, they want to apply their morals on others? Yes. So trying to impose Sharia law or Hindu law or Sikh law means any kind of such, we can say, religious diktat on a larger community which is diverse is like associated with imposing one's moral attitude, and that too a strong moral attitude without the space or scope for we can say flexibility, and that is harmful for social capital, the formation of social capital in a society. So, strong moral, yes, a strong moral attitude can lead to fundamentalism. What moral be, what might be moral for me might be immoral for others. Yes, that possibility is also there. In the CAB model, is the CAB model similar to exact same as Maguire's tripartite view of attitude? Can I quote? Yes, you can quote. See, Zeba, I refrain from taking names when I'm taking models and stuff many a time for the simple reason you will have Western philosophers and thinkers, Indian philosophers and thinkers, and questions associated with this. It's a general studies paper. So, in a general studies paper, while recalling the structure or component or we can say any subsegment associated with a subtopic, if you are not recalling a thinker but bringing the insights or perspectives, that's perfectly fine because it's general studies, not expert studies. Okay, and it's not optional. So that's also there, which we can understand. Um, so yes, that's what all of you need to like really practice. And like how much do you need to practice? Start with two answers, because okay, two answers will start building the basics. So all right, fine. Can we say UCC forcing other religion to follow Hindus? I have spoken of UCC already, that UCC is getting politicized. That is something which is unhealthy. Way back when I had taught briefly at Jamia Millia University, so the HOD of sociology department was Firdausi sir, and we were discussing this UCC issue way back. I'm talking about 2000 and maybe 14, 15, 16, because 3 years I was associated with them up to 17 February. So when I was discussing this issue with Firdausi sir, so Firdausi sir said this thing that, ma'am, UCC is constitutional. It is pro constitution, a part of DPSP. It is pro human rights. It is pro women's rights. The challenge is the politics behind it. When UCC is imposed, there is a fair possibility that if UCC is pro human rights and it is going to bring about a change, like let's say in one of the practices of Islam, then the Muslim ulemas will be highlighting this possibility that this is a like attack on our religion, and slowly and steadily they will convert all of us. And the Hindu fundamentalists will portray that, see, we changed one law, we are going to change everything about what these people are following, and we are going to straighten them up. And this is hate speech exercised from both the parties, is going to generate a lot of fear and insecurity. Lack of proper interpretation by the common masses, because common masses are not educated like you. They are not civil services aspirants or future bureaucrats, or they are not, we can say, academicians and professors. Common masses understand and interpret what their religious gurus and preachers are saying. So when this kind of interpretation is given by their political leaders or religious leaders, or faith based leaders, in that situation, a lot of, we can say, fear is generated, and that fear is something which leads to mistrust. So the intention behind UCC is lost when someone is providing a faulty interpretation. So first, a dialogue should be created, a bottom up approach of what practices are, we can say, uh, not required in the society, or not in the larger interest of all communities, all gender groups of the society. So how we need to do away with that practice. If there is a, we can say, a social dialogue, that is something which will bring us closer to the response of accepting uniform civil code, which is not common civil code, which is not bringing all religion at the same platform, related to all aspects, not all aspects, just four aspects: divorce, adoption, inheritance, as all of you are talking about it, and marriage. And all these four aspects, if you delve deep into it, primarily it is associated with the rights of women. It is women whose rights are compromised. It is women whose nature of indulgence gets compromised. Okay, so that's something which you can talk about it. All right, which I always say, that UCC is not about religion, it is primarily about women's rights. They are trying to contort it and change the narrative into a religious dialogue. But in the religious dialogue, it is the women who will suffer. Okay, anyway, so it is not UCC which is the problem, it is the interpretation, and it is the, we can say, the canvassing of the issue which is the problem, how it is being portrayed and how the sentiment is generated. Anyway, let's not divert to UCC, because the chapter is not about UCC, it is about moral attitude. So let us talk about attitudes and continue with attitude, the chapter of attitude, tomorrow. All right, so let us wrap up. Thank you, all of you. Have a good day and enjoy studying. Keep working on these given dimensions. And Akula, you can continue this dialogue with your polity teacher as well. All right. So, thank you, all of you. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.